Eh? It's not bad, huh? It looks pretty good, doesn't it? Do a little spin. Let me see if I can line my face up to it. 1 second. My camera is off. Excellent. All right, let's give it a try. There we go. How'd I do? Okay, hold on. Come on. It's doing this stupid invalid battery thing. It does this every once in a while after I restart it for, occasional like maintenance. I thought I fixed it last night, but it's finicky. It just happens sometimes. Hold on, I have to pop the battery out. Just because you need an off-brand battery because it has to be permanently charged. So the battery case never closes. It has a cable that connects it to the wall. Okay, did we do it? I think I fixed the camera. Okay, I did. Hold on, let me... Okay, get ready. Oh my god. Yeah, I need a haircut really bad. You look so lazy. I am lazy. Though I don't slouch that much. um for those of you who forget, when I saw it, the incredible work was done by um wait, what's the name that I can use for them? Hold on. Okay, the YouTube channel Jack Hainsworth is the name. Okay, yeah, I didn't know if that was what name, if it was the right name. Yeah, Jack Hainsworth. Incredibly good work there. Looks really nice. The reason why there's no music is because I have the pre-stream. The pre-stream starts like 20 minutes before I actually start talking. And if you have music playing or any kind of ambient noise, people are going to mute the tab, which means they're going to miss me coming in. And that, I don't know about that. If I only did like a couple minutes of the pre-stream, or maybe I could just do music for like 1 or 2 minutes beforehand. That might be a good idea. That might work. But if I did it like the whole time through, people would just mute the tab, you know. Yeah. I love the new screen. It gives me leftist Toonami vibes. I really like it. I love it because it first of all, like somebody in chat pointed out, it's like Fooly Cooly slash Evangelion. Um and I like those anime. And secondly, doesn't it look like it's a video game power up on the beach? Like, doesn't it look like you're running along Coconut Island and you're like, what do I do? He says he won't give me any coconuts unless I suck his dick. And you see a power up on the sand and you run over and you're like, ah, that's right, I kill him. I have to kill him. And then you fuck. Wow, pipe bomb. Yeah. Almost hit the end stream button again. Almost did it. Not this time. Where did you... Pardon me. Wow, he just disappeared. Whew. Um, Dude, the cats have been getting along so much better. It's so goddamn cute. It's so cute. I love them. Artemy and Danil are basically friends now. they will just play with each other. And Artemy has learned to be soft with Danil, which is good because Danil is like 4 pounds, maybe 3. Um, but like Danil will bolt at Artemy every chance that he gets, and Artemy is like Artemy will just like patiently stand there while Danil chews feverishly at his leg, which is great, you know, which is really really good. Pigeon's a bit of a pussy, no? Yeah, Pigeon is still a bit skittish, especially because Danil anytime Danil sees Pigeon, he will bolt at her at like maximum speed. And Pigeon is not a playing around cat at all. Pigeon is really skittish by default, like very friendly, you know, like she'll lay next to you or cuddle or whatever, but like very skittish. So Danil will bolt at her and she'll like get startled, jump back and start like hissing or growling. But as I wisely tweeted last night when I wasn't able to get any sleep, I fell asleep at like 5:30. Pigeon is a lot more chill when she's sleepy. So look, here they are sleeping together under a blanket. Ooh. What shampoo do you use? I think it's like purple. That's all I know. I use the purple shampoo. It's like deep purple. Roman Royal purple. Yeah, look at how big his ears are. It's actually crazy how big they are. His ears are so large that they like flap everywhere when he shakes his head. And if he lays on them, there's like a crease on the ear that folds, and the fold will stay for a while. Like he'll lay on his side, and his ear will be bent backwards at half. He can hear everything. Nope, he's deaf. It's a deaf cat, or at least partially deaf. It's kind of hard to tell. These are purely vestigial. Maybe he can use them to, like, feel the wind or, like, the air. I don't know, for some kind of directional thing. Yeah, they're antennas, not ears. They're for flying, okay? Was he a rescue? No, he was from an expensive breeder. But because he's brain damaged, we got him at a discount. That was the case for both of them. Pigeon has an eye issue. And Danil is brain damaged. I figure that's probably the most ethical way to satisfy Vermin's desire to have designer cats, which is like, okay, the cat breeding industry isn't great, but we use the best breeders we can, and also we get like the reject cats who have like brain damage, you know? That's got to be like the best way to do that, right? Detailed thoughts on the Super Bowl? I didn't see it. Oh, don't worry, Bisadu, we'll get to it. Which is scrunglier. Pigeon's more of a goblin. Danil is more scrungly. That's how it is. I had a customer calling the halftime show satanic because red. Nice. Oh, speaking of satanic, this is so random, and we'll get to the politics right after this, but I have to say it, okay? I have to say it. I've made a lot of jokes about Genshin Impact, despite knowing very little about it. The only thing I actually know about Genshin Impact was a couple of, like, Twitch.tv specific ads that came out. I specifically remember this one ad, which was for a new hero they introduced, which was like a lolly zombie ice wizard. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Where they'd be like, this little girl loves to study, but also she does frost magic. Oh, well, see, they know the name that she has, so I'm not off on this one. Anyway, I actually, just through sheer circumstance, I saw some Genshin Impact gameplay last night because Joseph Anderson, my favorite streamer, just happens to play it. Like, which is weird because he plays a lot of anime, like visual novel games and spends the entire time making fun of them for being anime and calling out any creepy shit. So I don't know. I don't know if it just has its hooks in him or like if he likes the gameplay. But I always thought that Genshin Impact was like a like a card battler because you have like loot boxes. I know you run around in an open world, but I thought it was like you do an encounter and then you fight an enemy in like a paused instance arena or something. And I thought it was an MMO. And it turns out, guys, I hate to say this, it turns out Genshin Impact is actually a very pretty game. It's very frustrating, and I hate to say it. It's actually very pretty and looks kind of fun to play, which makes me really angry that they like tied this game in with the like waifu lolicon bait shit and with the fucking gotcha monetization model where it's like dump $10,000 for the random chance that you might get a you know, a level 4 hero or something. It's so weird. Like, look at this. I'm like angry now. Also, it turns out it's not an MMO. I thought it was. Can I be forgiven? Look at this Genshin Impact game through play. Male, no commentary, PS4 Pro. They're like, okay, we will not be playing as a female in this one. Wait, that is that a male? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, like, the game's actually pretty. What is this? It looks like Breath of the Wild. In fact, it's definitely ripping off Breath of the Wild, but whatever. You know, they called every shooter a Doom clone, right? It actually looks good. Even the stupid fucking bullshit-ass anime character models with their giant bouncing titties. It just looks good. Why the fuck did it have to be this game? That's so dumb. Alright. I assume it's kind of like Diablo, where you can play multiplayer, but the whole thing's mostly single player, and you do a story campaign, and then at the end you have, like, dungeons that increase in difficulty, depending on modifiers you're at or whatever. Okay, yeah, gotcha, yeah, I figure. That's a really popular model of doing, like, a sort of single-player game these days. You know anything about this Brianna Gay thing? You mean the trans girl who was murdered? Yeah, it's in the title. We'll talk about it. I just didn't say her name because saying Brianna Gay murdered doesn't, like, convey much information to people who don't know anything. Oh shit, she's trans? Ah! Discourse. Yeah, okay. We got people linking. Caller, Vosh is calling anti-trans bills genocide. From the David Pakman Show. That is true. I do say this. What's up? Oh, I muted the...
Next to Casey from Kansas. Casey from Kansas, welcome to the program. Let's hope and pray for no technical issues. Casey, welcome. You're on. Oh, dear. Casey, the most likely problem is you've selected an audio device that's not valid on your computer.
That's true.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Sorry, it took me a second.
What's going on?
I had a question relating to something that's been asked in a few of the communities I'm in recently.
Okay.
Mainly the Vosh or Vouch community, as some
Ian
would call
Vouch,
it.
of course.
Yes, Ian Vouch. But would you consider the legislation and the rhetoric from the GOP targeting trans people to be a genocide in any sense of the word?
Okay, so just really quickly, because people keep playing this semantic game, I want to make it clear that as a linguistic descriptivist, okay, I really don't care that much about the idea of, like, the sanctity of a definition. The problem that I have here is that it seems like the term concentration camp, this is something that you can use to refer to an incredibly wide range of actions, and if you abide by some definitions, it makes sense, and if you abide by some colloquial definitions, it doesn't. So, for instance, the border camps that Trump maintained, and let's be fair, to an extent, Biden maintains still, to a lesser extent, but yeah, still, meet the definition of a concentration camp with like detainment and like political purposes and the whole thing, you know? It meets, and Obama, yes, and going a while back, it meets the definition of a concentration camp. But when I said that, like 2-3 years ago, when this was active, ongoing discourse, there were a lot of conservatives who were like, well, no, a concentration camp is like Auschwitz. It's like a death camp. And it's, okay, we do tend to call Auschwitz a concentration camp, but the main thing that made Auschwitz significant was that it was a death camp. Concentration camps are not actually that uncommon the world around, unfortunately. Death camps are. Thankfully, they're a lot rarer. So a concentration camp is like it's a broader term. I mean, we did them back in World War II with the Japanese internment camps. Those were undeniably concentration camps. Here, if we just hold on. Concentration camp definition. That's how we go. We go to the Google definition, like all wise political YouTubers. A place where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities, are deliberately imprisoned in a relatively small area with inadequate facilities, sometimes to provide forced labor or await mass execution. The term is most strongly associated with Nazi Germany, so on and so forth. It says sometimes to provide forced labor or await mass execution, but if all you're getting from this is a place where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities, are deliberately imprisoned in a small area with inadequate facilities, that would describe, like, a lot of places. You know? That it's not that uncommon. It's really only one step further along than a regular American prison, to be honest. The Uyghur Muslims in China? Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah. Anyway, so the point here being, like, if your definition of genocide is, like, killing them all, then, like, yeah, obviously that hasn't happened yet. But there are definitions of genocide that involve, like, the absolute social exclusion of a group or an effort to bring about conditions unlivable in nature for a group of people. And I think the reason a lot of people don't like to think about that is because they don't like thinking about genocide as an unexceptional thing. And what I mean by that is, by this definition, Reagan failing to address the AIDS crisis back in the 80s, unquestionably a genocidal act on his part. Literally, like, let's let this disease ravage the gay population because they're being punished by God for their degeneracy, and we're just going to abet and aid that death, you know? That's pretty unambiguously, you know, I don't know how you could argue that isn't true. I just think a lot of people don't like to think of it that way. I think a lot of people like to think it's like, okay, genocide is when Holocaust, concentration camp is when Holocaust, everything is when Holocaust. Vosh, so it's more semantically correct to say lead up to a genocide, but more rhetorically effective to just say genocide. Well, if genocide begins like the moment people start like getting shot, then we aren't currently in a genocide. If you could say like this overwhelming push from Republicans all across the country, this unprecedented wave of anti-trans legislation, which is absolutely an effort to just remove them from society, like that process is genocidal. That would be what I would say. Like, in this case, we're dealing with like a legalistic second-class citizen kind of genocide, where the goal is to use like legal separation and legal distinction to bring about unlivable conditions for a group of people. And in that sense, I would say that the laws that are currently being fought for by the GOP are genocidal. But again, like, you notice how little information we're getting out of actually debating the semantics here? I would be much more interested in saying, like, yeah, these are genocidal laws. And it's like, okay, well, why are they genocidal laws? Because they're looking to bring about the unlivable conditions, and so on and so forth. You know, look at this, look at that, da-da-da. And then you, like, move from there. But if we acknowledge that genocide has, like, a fuck ton of different definitions, then obviously there's room for disagreement on the specific use case. It seems like a lot of people just in bad faith want to, like, banty it about. Anyway, sorry, I'm just pausing here. The caller's maybe not acting in bad faith. I don't know anything about the caller, so.
you know, these things are so fraught because you can contrive and fabricate some interpretation of so many things where you could match it up with a number of different words, like, for example, genocide. Speaking colloquially, and I know, Casey, you're not trying to gotcha me, right? Just like speaking colloquially, I don't think that those are the right words that I would apply to the anti-trans legislation. Now, can I imagine how someone might make that connection? Can I propose to you how I would do it if I wanted to make that case? You tell me if this is what's being said. Casey? Hello?
Damn, he blew that guy the fuck out. Holy shit.
Hi.
Okay. Can you hear me, Casey?
Yeah, a little bit. I was having a little bit of trouble.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I can hear you.
If I had to make the case that anti-trans legislation is genocide, I would say something like the following. Trans folks have a high rate of suicide attempting and suicidal ideation. And when you pass anti-trans bills that make it more difficult for them to avail themselves of the medical or other services that may help them, you increase the odds that they will attempt suicide. And thus, one could argue that those bills are, in a sense, a genocide. Is that like roughly the way one would do it? Is that how you...
I actually disagree with that line. For me, actually, the root of it would be in bathroom bills. That was where this all started, and I think that might have been like where this is going. Like that's kind of the end point, right? So, the bathroom bills, like the whole you have to use your biological bathroom, use your biological porcelain toilet bowl or whatever. The idea there, I think, is actually one of the most sort of fundamentally genocidal because it completely precludes trans people from existing in a public space. Most bathrooms are gender separated publicly. Meaning that if you introduce legislation that could lead to them being arrested if they use the restroom they want to use, but then you whip up a big like anti-trans moral panic that increases the likelihood of them being assaulted if they use the bathroom the state says they should use. The truth is that they're just not going to use public restrooms. And that sounds like a trivial thing, and I understand this may come across as a bit hyperbolic, but I fully mean it. We have to understand how much like removal from public faculties was a component of Jim Crow era segregation. There's a lot of weight socially to going like, okay, these institutions, these banal, everyday, ordinary human institutions that everyone else takes for granted, you don't get to use them. Not just because it's circumstantially difficult, the way it might be for, say, a disabled person, where there's just maybe some physical difficulty in using them. That's unfortunate, but it's also kind of a component of the disability. No, in this case, the state is deliberately, for no reason, removing them from that space. And to my mind, that just reminds me more of the logic behind segregation. I mean, not to mention, we've talked about this on stream. You guys have been seeing this, right? Like DeSantis, like threatening to arrest teachers who have gender ideology in their classrooms, whether it be in books in the library or in the classroom or anything that's said, opening up teachers to being like scrutinized by insane boomer right-wing parents if ever they say anything remotely progressive on gender or sexual issues. The laws recently to ban, I forget which state, to ban drag performances, to put them in the same category as like pornography. Obviously, when Republicans draft this legislation, it's not really just targeted at drag, Oklahoma. It's targeted at any kind of like gender divergent behavior. Keep in mind, it wasn't that long ago that in, say, New York City, the police could arrest you for deviance if you were wearing 3 articles of clothing that, quote, didn't belong to your gender. So if you can, so we have precedent for this stuff, Now, technically, that law doesn't mention trans people, right? Like that like 100-year-old law or whatever. It doesn't say like, yeah, if you're trans, we'll arrest you. But 3 articles of clothing that are the other gender. Like, we know what this actually means, don't we? We're not dumb. I would consider what I'm talking about here, considering the fact that it's part of a deliberate state-orchestrated effort to specifically target one minority group, I can comfortably call that a genocide. I'm okay with, like, I think I can defend that just fine. Because the definition, again, can include, like, an effort to bring about, in whole or in part, like an unlivable, an unlivable state of affairs to make life just unlivably difficult for a group of people. I mean, Donald Trump was literally just saying federally ban all trans healthcare and all gender ideology, or like ban all federal association with it, meaning that like all hospitals and like Medicare, Medicaid, all that stuff. I mean, clearly the effort here is to make life unlivably bad for trans people. So that would be my argument. Would Jim Crow laws against black people in the 1960s be qualified as a genocide? I think you can make that argument, but I don't necessarily think so. I would go to a different term, because the point of the Jim Crow laws wasn't to remove them from society. It was to distinguish and separate them. We're not talking about like segregation for trans people. We're talking about eradication of trans people. The effort, like the broad effort of the Jim Crow laws, was to maintain the presence of black people, because, you know, not to say there weren't people who didn't just want to wipe them out. There certainly were. Plenty of genocidal intent going on in the history of Jim Crow. But the Jim Crow laws in and of themselves seem more like an effort to maintain apartheid conditions, which seems less to do with like making life unlivably bad and more like stay in your lane, keep in your place. That's not to say that what happened there was any better. The term genocide is often used as a kind of like rhetorical bludgeon that feels like it has the highest possible, like the highest imaginable weight. I just think they refer to like different social trends, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, the effort to like the entire process of like the transatlantic slave trade, unquestionably a cultural genocide, because they literally like eradicated the culture of the African tribes they were brought in from. Obviously, their goal was not to eradicate black people, because they kept, you know, bringing more in. But their goal was like a lot worse than what is currently happening to trans people, right? Like, I wouldn't say necessarily the transatlantic slave trade was an attempt at genocide, except for the cultural sense. But I would say the transatlantic slave trade was far worse than what's happening now with trans people. So it's like, I think these terms have a lot more like play, if that makes any sense. There's more like give definitionally. But we're just arguing semantics at this point. I just think I mean, what's important is focusing on what's actually happening, and not broad terms to describe it. I'm sorry, I'm totally rambling.
Yeah, but also just like like I don't know if you could use like the term legislative genocide, or like let's say like there was a recent bill that was proposed that would make it where you can't do like transitional health care even if you're 26 or under.
I was proposed.
Which is not even 18. Like, would that be like genocide at all, or would
Listen,
you just use a different word?
This is, it doesn't seem to me that the word genocide is neither accurate in its spirit nor productive. But of course, I can see how somebody might make a semantic argument of that kind. It's not really the way I kind of think about these issues, I think, is where I would leave it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you at least think it's like a dangerous warning sign, at least?
Yes, and also like when a governor,
I don't think that Deepak is doing anything wrong here. If I have to say, I think there's enough like play in these words that we probably shouldn't focus like hyper specifically on which broad, like kind of unhelpfully distinguished definition we want to use. Like Deepak would agree on like basically everything this community says on trans people. Except for that trans people are annoying on Twitter. I don't know if he'd be willing to commit to that position, but I'm just very consistent and moral, and that's why I say it. Deepak's usually pretty based about this kind of stuff. Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, no. I like Deepak. Okay. What is this? Russia planning a coup in Moldova, says President Mai Sandu. Really? The plan included sabotage and militarily trained people disguised as civilians to carry out violent actions, according to Moldovan leader. Does Russia still have a bunch of troops in Moldova? Yeah, in Transnistria. Yeah. So to the west of Ukraine. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, it's really dumb. Moldova is like a tiny little banana of a country. Just a little. It's right here between Romania and Ukraine. And then see this dashed line right here on the edge? That distinguishes like a breakaway region that's not officially recognized to most as a nation, but is kind of militarily autonomous, called Transnistria. I think Russia has something like 7,000 to 8,000 troops there. So obviously Russia would very much want Moldova, which I believe Moldova is pro EU, isn't it? Moldova is yeah, they are. Okay, yeah, I thought so. Because otherwise, like, because if Transnistria is a Russian-aligned breakaway portion, it would make sense then that they're breaking away from a group they have an ideological disagreement with. It wouldn't make sense for them to two Russian puppets and one of them a breakaway state from the other. Strong support for EU membership, trust and leadership despite... Oh, that's nice. Okay. 63% of Moldovans support EU membership, while 33% oppose it. 82% of Moldovans believe current relations with the EU are either very good or somewhat good, and 67 believe it's one of the country's most important economic partners. Oh, that's nice. Transnistria is a USSR holdover state. I don't know the exact history, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. What? Oh, yeah, sure. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Huh? Let it be freezing. Probably not. Sorry, I had to close some stuff because Danil is going to be running around. They pretend they're still in the USSR. It's so larpy. Oh my god. Transnistria, officially the Pridnestrovian Moldavian Republic, is an unrecognized breakaway state that is internationally recognized as part of Moldova. Only been recognized by 3 other unrecognized or partially recognized breakaway states. Abkhazia, partially recognized state in the Southern Caucasus. Artsakh, who has, oh my god, they have a goddamn NES flag. What the hell? Their flag is pixels. Are they so poor in Artsakh that they can't afford anti-aliasing? In South Ossetia. The region's origins can be traced to the Moldovan Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, USSR. The present history of the region dates back to 1990 during the dissolution of the Soviet Union, when the Pridnestrovian Moldavian Soviet Socialist Republic was established in hopes it would remain with the Soviet Union should Moldova seek unification with Romania or independence, the latter occurring in August 1991. Then a military conflict happened, and then a ceasefire. Dude, the ceasefire's been happening for 30 years? I guess with Russian troops there, they can't do much? Okay, well. Wild. Russia thrives in frozen conflict. All right. What interesting stuff we've learned today. Russians love creating little ethnic satellite states that fuck the region for decades to come. That's true. To be fair, Africa and the Middle East and Latin America and parts of Asia are our fault. Western Europe. So let's not get too high and mighty when it comes to weaponizing local ethnic divisions as a way of securing our national interest. Let's calm down a little bit with these these crazy accusations. Oh, there is some news stuff that I want to get to, but there was something else I wanted to do first. I feel like we have to maintain an appropriate tone gradient. Okay. I was gonna do this for the 4-year anniversary of my channel, but then I forgot. But my birthday's tomorrow, so I figure that's kind of like that, a little bit. I feel like there's some kind of parallel there. Okay, we're gonna do a review of my very first video. Look at that, right up there. Furman, how could you not know that? Yes, I'm turning 29. We're going over the first video that I have not edited in any way over the past 4 years. Before I knew that YouTube pulls the words in your title and uses them for tag recommendations. I watched it recently. It's very good. I like it. Oh, well, I guess we'll see, huh? Here, look, I did a little drawing of how I actually look, and I used that for the video background. Are you guys ready for some leftist audio? That's what I actually look like, by the way. Back when I had a little man bun. Why the bulge? This? Why not the bulge? God, I remember you reading the script to me a million times, huh? Oh yeah, that's right. Back when I was trying to do the little video essay thing, Vermin would be pestered with my with my like little script writing. I guess that's the burden of people who were at the time partnered with a YouTube auteur. I love how disgustingly buff Vosh drew himself. Get back up there. Vosh said his first video was terrible, but honestly, the slaps king of consistent. Damn! Well, you guys are like... I'm getting hyped up over here. Wait, what about most recent? Little did he know what was gonna happen. The start of the edgy left narcissist. That's true. This is literally the dumbest fucking take I've ever heard. Centrism is literally the smartest, no, the only reasonable stance to have. Good. There we go, finally. A warrior. A principled intellectual. All right. How bad is the audio going to be? I don't remember. When do you think I last listened to this?
Hey there, comrades.
Oh, yeah. Ah, yeah. We're gonna... All right. Let's go. Let's go. That's gotta be rough for me to listen to. I'm gonna save us all a lot of time here and not pause like every time I get a cringe fit over an overly performative or enunciated sentence or like a weird little audio tick that I don't do anymore. Why'd you stop calling us comrade? I do sometimes in my emails. Now I just say dumb fucks.
So, some of you know me as Irish Laddie, probably most of you, actually, but I chose that username when I was 11 years old and had a shaky sense of national identity. I'm actually American. So
oh, God. Okay. I'm regretting this immediately. All right.
from now on, I'll be going as Vosh. Got it? Alright, good. So, I'm an internet boy. And when I'm on Reddit or YouTube or in Twitch chat or my Twitter DMs or on Grindr, there's a very particular sort of person with whom interaction tends to leave me feeling very frustrated and angry.
Okay, wait, hold on. I need to enter like my mind state. I need to enter like my palace, okay? I'm trying to think like, okay, does it sound cringier than a Thought Slime video? And the answer is no. And I can make it through a Thought Slime video. It's only the fact that this is me that's hurting me right now.
You see, I'm a leftist, and I give every shit about this storm of right-wing populism we're all weathering like a fucking hurricane. Comes with the territory of being a leftist.
Oh my god, why is it so hard to listen to? I can't do this. I can't listen to this. I don't mind listening to my recent debate performances. I hate the performative... Because you're smug? Well, I always come across as smug. I always have. It's just part of me. You're cringe and you are free? You're right.
And being a decent person. It's strange, then, and sort of disquieting, that right-wing populists aren't the ones who leave me feeling that way. Frustrated and angry, I mean. It's not the fascists, the nationalists, the out-and-about racists, the transphobes, the anti-Semites, or any other
I'm fine with all
degenerate
those.
faction of the alt-right. Now, don't get me wrong. These people are terrible. I hate them.
Oh.
But they're not the ones who...
I did a little video essay thing there, see? Except normally there's like another thing you cut to when you enunciate, except I didn't have anything else to cut to, so I just put a black screen there. Editing! I taught these people everything they know. I can't tell if those are chopsticks or freakishly long nails. They're chopsticks. What do you mean? I'm holding chopsticks. Hey, look at my gangly little claw hand. You should have zoomed in the bulge. I should have zoomed into the bulge. Actually, why didn't I just zoom into the face that I drew? Why would I just do a black screen? Why wouldn't I just zoom in on this face? Are you eating ramen there? Yeah, I also have those, like, Japanese samurai sandals, see? Time to re-upload? True, gotta fix it.
Make me want to give up on politics and dedicate my life to breeding geckos. Now that honor...
Geckos!
...belongs to the fucking centrists. So, before we get to that, leftism. Now, being a leftist means that I, in addition to being very
oh, fuck.
strong, tall, handsome, sexually virile, socially competent, and packed with so much muscle my pecs are beginning to expand inwards and collapse my ribcage, am also very smart and have great opinions.
I can't make fun of this too much because I still do this bit. I still do it right now. I do it still. I just do it in a more self-aware way. It's the same... It's the same bit. Nothing has changed.
Opinions. Some of these opinions, like the need to abolish capitalism and deconstruct gender roles, are fairly tepid, while some, like my pathologically...
You just deliver it better now? Yeah, okay, the thing that makes it, and I had to learn this through trial and error, the thing that makes it sufferable, as opposed to fucking insufferable, which is what it is here, is, there's a huge difference between doing it with, like, self-debasing, naturalistic, like obvious irony, and trying to come across like, oh, they'll get it's a joke, but I'm going to say it as though it's not a joke, so I'll just have to assume they think that I'm joking. Like, it's not like I wasn't joking when I did it here, obviously. Ribs collapsing because of my pet. Like, obviously it's a joke in both cases, but here it's like, there's a lot of room to assume that I'm not joking. Yeah, I don't think you can do dry humor while also doing the comedically overconfident bit. Yeah.
Sexual desire to bully white male gamers are pretty radical. I'm a radical, I guess. And that's a super arbitrary and contextual classification, mind. I mean, abolitionists and women suffragists were pretty radical in their time. What constitutes a radical belief can speak as much to society's limitations as it does to the severity of the belief itself. There are some people to whom radical thought immoderation, zealousness, deviation from the status quo is itself.
Fuck, I'm so full of myself. Oh my god. Oh god, we've just completely dropped the like conversational writing the conversational speaking style, and it's fully like I am reading from a script. I hate reading from scripts.
A threat to discourse, in spite of the incalculably significant and often valued impact radicals have had on society in the past. These people, centrists derived from the Byzantinian prefix sint, or to defecate loudly, can be found poisoning
Okay. That's true.
discourse and impeding discussion in pretty much every politically minded corner of the internet. They will claim, loftily, that there are problems with both sides, and that the answer can...
Okay, just for a little bit of context, because a lot of you probably don't know, the enlightened centrist thing was way more of a trend back in 2019. Way more than it is right now. Right now, like the discourse has shifted forward so much that like there are people who pretend to be centrist, but like I feel like Elon Musk is kind of the best example of that, where he pretends to be high-minded and above it all, but he literally said, I'm a Republican now, and spends his entire time, like, squatting in, like, neo-Nazi Twitter threads, promising them that he'll look into why they're not getting enough retweets or whatever. There's much less of a mask on the whole thing, but back in 2019, like, it was just so common to have, like, so much online political discourse was just like, well, isn't the smartest political take to not have one at all? And that was like ubiquitous almost. So to be clear, it was more of a thing back then. It still is a thing, but it was more of a thing back then.
be found in the middle. They denounce violence when it's committed unlawfully, but remain silent when violence is committed in line with the system, no matter the reasons for either. They condemn extremism as a matter of course, without considering its motivations. Their statements of belief, when issued, are often intended only to contrast and subsequently exaggerate a more radical belief.
No lies detected. Analysis fully on point. Gears locked. Engine revving. Nitro boosters activated.
Centrists embody that which Martin Luther King condemned in his letter from Birmingham jail.
Fuck.
Moderates,
So cliche.
who
Okay.
are more devoted to order than to justice, who prefer a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly say, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action.
I'm doing voices. I'm like a D&D guy, because I was playing D&D. I'm doing voices here. I should have done Martin Luther King Jr.'s voice. I should have committed to the bit. I should have like watched the March on Washington speech, the I Have a Dream speech, and gone like, all right, we're gonna do it. We're doing it live. By the way, what's the baby stroller thing for? Oh, that's not a baby stroller. That's my booster seat. Because I'm a big boy. Why are the chair legs drawn like this? I can draw better than this now. This was a while ago. I like the fucked up booster seat. Yeah, it's the special booster seat for special boys.
Listen, if you consider yourself a centrist, or a moderate, or a rationalist, or a midpoint man, or an omniliberal, or whatever else, I've got to be a little bit mean to you here. I've got to be a little mean.
Who was I referring
Because you've
to
let
there?
me down so many times. But, I mean, hey, I used to be one of you, and I did get better, so I get it. We should always be looking for opportunities to grow. Because
Watch
it's
doing
always
MLK.
infinitely
True.
less likely we're right about
Man, I look
absolutely
crispy
everything
here.
than it
Holy
is
shit.
We've still got a few things to learn. And if you're a centrist, and you don't want to learn, then maybe dip out here. Because centrists are, by and
Oh God! Why? Every time the black screen happens, I'm thinking like, what am I about to say that I'm trying to give additional weight for some reason through the absence of an image?
large, stupid,
God
politically
damn it.
ignorant, ideologically vacuous, and riddled with more prejudices than my inbox will be angry PMs after this video makes me a millionaire and I can stop pretending to care.
Holy shit! He knew! He knew! How did he know? He did know! Yeah, Vermin thinking right now, like, hey, I remember when that part of the script got read to me. I was rolling my eyes in my head, you know?
About social issues. They are an intolerable cancer on political discourse, particularly on the internet, and serve to do little more than provide a cover for more extreme reactionary views.
That's true.
So, to learn more, please sit down and grease up your hog and join me as we insert ourselves into this, my first YouTube video.
Man, that works for both. That works for this and for that. That's great. Reusable. Hey, Danil. We have cats now. That's how things have changed. Danil. Early Vosh could not have predicted the brain-damaged, scruffly baby. Wah. Wah. All right, go forth. Go. Deploy. Good job. All right.
The Overton window, coined by legal expert Joseph P. Window, refers to the range of ideas tolerated in political discourse. Basically, whatever isn't too outlandish to be discussed and considered by society at large. The exquisite, sensuous feminine angle? Today? Yes. A century ago? No. The Overton window is constantly shifting, being pulled left and right, expanded and contracted. It's difficult to imagine, but just 10 years ago, transgender people had...
Oh, shit. He didn't know.
Basically no presence in media or in political discourse. They were ostracized out of recognition. Their legitimacy so outside the bounds of the Overton window, a politician would have never been taken seriously if they tried to take a stand on transgender rights. Now, in 2019,
Oh, no.
being trans is mandatory, and they're coming for me next.
Holy shit, why the fuck was there such a pause there? Why would I hold the line on such a cringy joke? God damn it. It's true though. They still are.
Centrists, the ideal centrists at least, the platonic centrists, strive to find compromise between what they perceive to be the extremes presented on both sides.
I can't Then I'll just launch my mouse to the other side of the desk by catapulting my... Danil! Why? Jesus. That's okay. Artemis is here to guard. Oh my god. When I reset the camera, it didn't adopt the... It's on autofocus! Okay. It's actually really cute. Artemis is guarding the blue light right now, and Danil is standing in front of the pink light.
The political aisle. This does, of course, make them a slave to the Overton window and however it may shift. After all, if the window shunts rightwards, centrists are now obligated to adjust their beliefs accordingly, lest they occupy a political position which is now considered left-leaning. Okay, actually, wait. Hold on.
That extremely authentic fake reconsideration tone in the middle of a script. Point one. Well, okay. Well, now that I think about it,
We can do this with examples.
what?
Okay. It's 2014. You're a
What? Why does it do that? Why did that happen? What?
centrist, and you fall pretty much dead center between the mainstream conservative and liberal platforms of your distant bygone era. Election season approaches, and one of the Liberal Party's frontrunner candidates is a cantankerous old social democrat with ivory hair like Geralt of Rivia and the voice of an angel. He loses the
I played The Witcher back then?
Yeah, you played that in Humble.
In 2019?
Yeah, I watched you play it on that old computer.
Oh. Wild.
primaries, but his populist rhetoric, it resonates. And the rhetoric of the winning candidate is shifted leftwards to capitalize on that popularity. Social democracy, lowered or even free college tuition, single-payer healthcare, increased taxation of the wealthy. It's all a little less taboo to discuss now. To put it simply...
I'm still having this argument with other lefties, man. There are still lefties who are like... I talked about this with Marianne Williamson, about the value of running on a democratic platform because you get to shift the Overton window to the left because they all have to be held to account. And that, yeah, it's the same thing, except that's not an argument with a centrist. It's an argument with like a do-nothing leftist.
The Overton window is expanded leftwards. Now, the Conservative Party also fields a populist in their primaries, and he actually ends up winning. Not just the primary, but the presidency. His rhetoric is, let's say, a little more blatant than that of his party contemporaries. And his rise to prominence...
Can you hear my throat? I'm like choking on every word that I utter. Can you hear that? A little more blatant than... I sound like Alfred Hitchcock. I sound like I should have jowls when I'm saying this.
Brings quite a few positions into the range of acceptable public discourse. Positions like banning all Muslim immigration to the United States.
Oh, we're doing the breadtube bit where we have like a tired voice, and then we cut as we like superimpose article headlines over what we're saying. This is a editing bit that I've seen. I must have seen this at some point.
Referring to news organizations as enemies of the American people, bombing the civilian families of suspected terrorists, splitting families and detaining migrant children at concentration camps near the border, legislating transgender people out of existence, failing to condemn and thus tacitly endorsing neo-Nazi rallies, lying constantly, all the time, like always, even when it's easily falsifiable, fueling anti-vaccination fervor, mocking veterans for getting captured as POWs, building a literal fucking 2000...
If I could remake this video, the only thing that I would change is I wouldn't have added Donald Trump making fun of John McCain as a headline here.
...mile wall in the dirt to spite brown people. I mean, do you even remember what a slow news week feels like? We've grown jaded to conservative rhetoric that, if uttered a decade ago, would have been political suicide. The Overton window, the range of acceptable discourse, has been stretched way to the right. And see, now the centrist is in a tricky position. If they want to play the both sides card and continue advocating for a position equidistant to that of both parties, their rhetoric needs to grow more conservative. 9 years ago, a moderate was someone who encouraged the Democratic Party to water down the Affordable Care Act so it could be made palatable to a Republican Senate. Nowadays, a moderate is someone who denounces Antifa and neo-Nazi violence with equal fervor, equivocating the two and tacitly downplaying the latter.
True. I'm so right. Oh my god. The analysis. Is this an old Vosh video essay or something? It's the old Vosh video essay. The oldest and the most video essay.
As the window shifts, the arguments have to change. Look at a centrist. Look them in their beady reptilian eyes. If things get
cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Bad here, and I mean really bad, what position will they have to take next? I should throw a disclaimer in here. Now, politics is...
Disclaimer, I don't know how to fucking edit. To be fair, I still don't. I just don't make video essays. I pay people to edit now. A lot. I pay them a lot.
Really complicated. And political positions can't really be charted on a graph, certainly not on a line graph. The Overton window isn't just a range along an x-axis. It's a vague and subjective descriptor meant to contextualize political discourse within a set of social expectations. Now, that doesn't mean it's not a useful term, it just means it's complicated. Do you want to...
Man, one of the most important things that oh god. Can you do the old voice right now? No, because it's also the microphone. All of this was coming through that. See? The Blue Yeti. This microphone is a hell of a lot better. Also, I have a ton of OBS, like, you know, settings and audio dampening and so on. It's not really possible to emulate that throaty thing. Use that mic in the next stream. I'll consider it. I doubt it works anymore. The cats have knocked it over at least once. Speaking of. Yeah, we're not recording on a 3DS anymore. Do you bass boost your voice now? No. I'm just a little bit more used to talking. The tone of the microphone doesn't change. I'm trying to think though. Man, I feel like one of the things that your cadence is different. One of the best things that I've ever done when it comes to changing how I behave on stream, and this is one of the reasons why people are totally full of shit when they say that I used to be better at debates or better at whatever back then, is that I have put so much effort into not trying to sound like a stupid cunt when I talk over the past 4 years, okay? I put so much goddamn effort into sounding naturalistic and to just saying what I'm thinking rather than filtering it through a semi-autonomous like window of here's what I'm thinking and how do we run it through and you know, make it sound like something a smart person would say. I have been working so hard to not do that. Oh yeah, Deep Mama. Literally, like, well, why is your voice changed? Well, I've been streaming, like, most days for 4 years. Get a lot of practice in. Did you have training? I mean, I stream. Now you just sound like a chill autistic dude? Exactly. That's what we're looking for.
Get really complicated? Let's talk about core values. Because centrists sure as fuck don't. Underlying all belief, all policy, all political preference, everything. There are...
See, like this. This is the opposite of naturalistic dialogue. Holy shit. We want old voice back, just gain 50 pounds. Yeah, maybe the reason why I sound like this is because I did have jowls with the 80 pounds that I lost.
Are values. A chain of them, actually, from least to most fundamental. I'll give you an example. There are many homeless people in the smoldering charcoal pit of a state my exquisitely muscular body currently inhabits, and I want something done about it. That's my policy position.
The California wildfires were going on at this time.
I want something done about the homeless people in my state. Something nice, obviously. Like, let's say, vocational programs, meant to clean them up a smidge and give them some job and social skills. So, why do I want that? Well, the goal of that...
Oh, shit. Are we going to get to axioms? Do I mention axioms in the first video that I ever did? Oh my god. How many times? Yes, I do? I bring up axia? Oh my god. Man. I've been pretty consistent the past 4 years, I think.
Policy would be an increase in employability and social integration, which will hopefully help them find jobs and give them the money they'd need to find housing. And with that, wham! No longer homeless. As to why I'd want them to no longer be homeless? Well, financial stability and sleeping in a warm bed are probably strong indicators of happiness. And I'd like the presently homeless population of California to be happy. And if you ask me why I want the presently homeless population of California to be happy, you'd reach one of my most
Thank you, Zard Lover.
Fundamental values, an axiomatic value, a mighty tree trunk from which all my other beliefs...
There it is! There it is! All the way back to 2019. Axioms. We got it. We got 'em, boys. We're still axioming to this day.
values grow outward like branches and sticks and leaves and shit. It's the root of my thought process, the presupposition from which all my other values derive. It is, in brief, I want as many people as possible to enjoy their lives to the greatest possible extent.
Listen how dramatic I am as I say this. I'm like, and my bold proclamation to the world. I have a dream that my axiom may be achieved. That all...
Every position I advocate for, every policy endorsed, they're all in service of that value. Centrists are fundamentally incapable of acknowledging the influence values have on policy because they hold no values themselves, save an attachment to a moderation at the cost of all sense. They advocate for positions equidistant from both sides of the political aisle, even if those sides are motivated by wildly different interests and pulling the country in mutually exclusive directions. Here's an example of a compromise which serves the interests of our nation. Republicans want to allocate $60 million to a national park revitalization initiative, and Democrats want to allocate $100 million. So, who gets what they want? Tensions mount until a
Oh, God. Okay.
centrist enters the arena, calculator in hand and rainbow propeller beanie on head. He sweats profusely, anxiously scratching the itchy...
Beanie? You mean... You mean one of the... It's not a beanie. It's a baseball cap. Yeah, Tim Pool doesn't have this. Oh, holy shit. Sorry, 1 second. I just saw this in the Google image search result page. A goddamn rainbow propeller bucket hat. How drippy is that? Those actually are referred to as beanies, oddly. Really? Wait, that's sick? It's so sick. This is so good. I need this shit.
skid mark that runs from the seat of his pants down to the...
Okay, hold on. What am I doing?
Profusely, anxiously scratching the itchy skid mark that runs from the seat of his pants down to the left ankle. What? He sputters breathily. If we allocated $80 million? The compromise is made.
What am
Parties
I doing?
thrown, alcohol imbibed. It's a success for everyone, because you see, both parties wanted to achieve the same goal. Revitalization of our national parks. And they wanted to achieve it in...
What is that voice? I have no fucking idea. I have no clue. We're DMing again. We're DMing again. What? I have no... You're such a fucking theater kid. Hey, I'll have you know that I hate theater kids, okay? Except for the ones I'm friends with and me.
The same way, by funding a revitalization initiative. Compromise can work there. Now, what do you do if Republicans introduce legislation barring transgender women from using their preferred restrooms?
Hey,
Or if
we were talking
Republicans
about
move to
this.
repeal DACA? Or, hey, if Republicans are still really fucking mad about Roe versus Wade, so they're doing everything in their power to limit women's access to an abortion...
They succeeded. They revoked it.
In a manner which absolutely violates the spirit of the Supreme Court ruling, but just barely meets its letter. You see, compromise doesn't work in those instances. It can't work because the America Republicans are trying to build is mutually exclusive to the America Democrats are trying to build. Any compromise in any of these instances is an unequivocal loss for Democrats and the minorities they're trying to defend, and an unequivocal gain for Republicans.
I think actually one of the big failings that I had in this video is that I failed to distinguish the idea of like ideological compromise and process-driven compromise. The essential point that I'm making is that compromise and moderation are valuable tools. They are valuable things to know how to do when you agree on a shared goal. And the compromise is something that you implement as a way of maximizing the shared happiness, the likelihood of success for some kind of shared goal. You know, it's a way of moderating the process. But ideological moderation always fails because you can't actually decide what the best, like, most moral path for a country or a person or whatever is based on, like, finding the midpoint between two values. The only thing you can do at that point is find, like, a process-driven compromise. So, for example, you know so let's say it's like the 1980s and you're a pro-gay politician and you know for a fact that gay marriage is just not on the table, but you might be able to get gay civil unions made a thing, right? Like you might be able to make that possible. If the virtue of moderation here, the virtue of compromise, would not be saying like, okay, if the left wants gay marriage and the right doesn't, then the center point, which must be the moral point, that has to be civil unions. That's not what you're saying. You believe the morally correct point is gay marriage. The civil unions compromise is something that you're arriving at through, like, a procedural desire to achieve something that can actually be achieved. You're not compromising on the ethics. You're not saying, okay, I think that gay marriage is as wrong as not having anything. I think the right decision morally is civil unions. What you're saying is, I do think gay marriage is the right decision, and I'm going to do what I can to work towards that point in the meantime. And that's like procedural compromise, you know? I still have these arguments with fucking lefties, man, with the idea of procedural compromise, where it's like, well, okay, so you want Bernie Sanders to run and, like, spread a populist social democracy message on the Democratic national stage. But did you know that will not make communism happen? Mm-hmm.
Hate minorities. Whether you
No context missing.
or disagree with the policies being laid out here, you have to recognize that there's absolutely no room for compromise. Do we ban transgender women from some women's restrooms? Do we build a border fence? Do we repeal every other DACA immigrant? Does every third woman get the abortion they want? It is not enough to blithely suggest moderation and
Blithely? Oh my god, I'm so educated.
ignore the wildly disparate values at play. Sometimes, by which I mean every time, all the time, and mostly on the right, a side is wrong. Or both sides. And it takes some real intellectual rigor to determine which position should be advocated for.
What is that word? Hey, it sounds like you need to ameliorate your vocabulary, my friend.
Which should be considered and dismissed. I want centrists to engage in that rigor. I want them to get yoked. I want them to cut their teeth out there. I want them to take their shirt off and rub their sweaty muscles against my own. I might regret...
Wait! Are the black screens just a mistake? Why did that happen? I know how Adobe Premiere works. How does that even happen? Did I create just one video file of extending this image with a black screen preview that I used for the opening, and then I just cloned it across multiple, like, stretches of the video? Did you not pre-watch before you uploaded? Why would I watch this crap?
Saying that, though, because I feel like centrists, were they inclined to engage in discourse rather than muddy it, would probably end up siding with reactionaries. Does anyone else feel that way? I'm just speaking from personal experience here, but virtually every centrist I've wasted time speaking with seems way more concerned with rainbow-haired college SJWs than they do, say, the rise of white nationalism.
True!
And when I say I speak from personal experience, what I actually mean is that I channel divine existential truth through my throat. Because centrists are always way the fuck more concerned with student activism, with Antifa, with...
Okay, here's a cheat. First of all, the throat thing was weird. Here's a cheat code, okay? If you want to make jokes where it's like, haha, I'm so cool, I'm so smart, laugh when you say them. I do it now, largely because I find my own jokes funny, but also because it indicates to people that you find your bullshit as absurd as they do. You are instantly disarming any perception of being full of yourself. Oh my god.
ethics in video game journalism, whatever, than they are with real social issues. I've seen no evidence to contradict this. Please, in the comments, supply me with that evidence. This is why progressives tend to consider centrists part of the opposition. And
Wait, so laughing at your own jokes is good? Okay, personal opinion, if I actually don't trust people who don't laugh at their own jokes. If people don't laugh at their own jokes, it makes me feel like they're constructing them purely for my benefit. Like, it's like some kind of social manipulation thing where they're like actively thinking like, how do I make this person laugh, as opposed to just sort of casually enjoying their time with me. Like, that can be fine in some settings, but if I'm just like hanging out with friends, like I want them to laugh too, because, you know, or at least smile.
reactionaries tend to consider centrists useful idiots, allies even, because to disaffected, politically ignorant gamer bros, it is far easier to be radicalized with a dog whistle than it is with leftist engagement.
Oh my god! I really have been making the same talking points for 4 years. It hasn't changed. Oh my god, this is just the same thing as the fucking male discourse thing with the way the right makes it way easier to get on board with their shit. Oh my god, the left has learned nothing. Yeah, well, at least hey, you know what? At least I have cats now. At least I can afford groceries now.
I invite this challenge. Can anybody find me some popular centrist figureheads on YouTube, Twitter, anywhere? Real centrist, mind. Boogie2988 comes to mind, but every time he opens his mouth, he gets pile-driven back into a depressive stupor for regurgitating blatantly reactionary talking points.
Holy shit, that's like this is like a blast from the past. Boogie's been chill for ages now. But who? It's a while. It's a while ago. Don't worry about it. It's an old meme. Boogie1488. Man, do you guys remember Andrew Yang after 2020 doing the forward party centrism bit where he was like, "Hey, we're gonna bring everyone together for discourse," and people were like, "What are your positions on anything?" And they were like, "That's not what this is about. Shut the fuck up. That's not what this is about." Isn't he still? Yeah, but nobody listens to him anymore.
So, not much luck there for centrism. I can think of a few people who claim to be classically liberal, fiscally conservative, socially liberal, often found on YouTube and Reddit, shitting exclusively on shallow misrepresentations of leftist talking points. I'm reminded of Sargon of Akkad, a alpha smooth brain, one might say, who is considered by America's favorite knuckle sponge, Richard Spencer, to be a
knuckle sponge. What the Oh, because he got decked. Cute.
Great entry point for the alt-right. Quite a few of the centrists I've spoken to are tremendous fans of this entry point, of this crumbling cliffside at the precipice of fascism. The term we're looking for here is reactionary centrist, a person who holds reactionary views, but, for whatever reason, masquerades dishonestly as a moderate. To these people,
it's honest. I think for a lot of them, it's honestly just that being Republican isn't cool. I think basically like conservatives understood that Republicans and conservatism broadly are heavily associated with like stuck up, like religious, no fun old people, so on and so forth. So they essentially just made the like centrist moderate crowd a wing of conservatism. Like rhetorically, I mean, like they made an effort to just sort of co-opt those terms as a de facto extension of conservative thought, but nominatively different enough that it doesn't have those associations with being like a old fuddy-duddies or whatever.
People, listen. We don't live in moderate times.
True. I love this. We're going to go back to making video essays now? Absolutely not, Tempest.
Moderateness to injustice, compromise with hatred, tolerance of intolerance.
I'm so full of myself.
Are, in effect, an expression of solidarity. And solidarity with fascism gets you bashed too.
Ooh, I'm so cool. Bashing people.
Look, centrists...
Like I'm not a fat, just out of college dipshit with a ponytail and back problems. I didn't even own guns back then. Now I own 9.
aren't the only people I disagree with. They're not even the people I disagree with the most, not even close. I mean, I keep perspective. I keep my eyes on the looming specter of American fascism that's cast a pall over all my internet hog greasing. It's just, when I'm arguing with those fascists, the last thing I need is a swarm of fence-sitters who draw false parallels between incomparable extremes, who promote value-neutral discourse to the benefit of reactionaries and to the detriment of everyone else, who offer nothing besides
Why do you talk like that? I don't listen, okay? Don't worry about it.
obstacles between where we stand today and where we might stand tomorrow. The last thing I need, really, is a centrist. I'd rather have an open-minded ally, or, failing that, another fascist. With them, at least. I know where we stand.
This is actually, like, true, though, 100%. If I'm doing a 1v2 debate, I would much rather be arguing with two fascists than one fascist and a centrist who will do, like, constant appeals to both of our better natures. Like, in a, you know, like, in a way that equates us. Am I going to fade out now?
Big thanks to
Oh, no fade out. Just going to go right to the pre-T and pre-voice training. Yeah, this was my pre-T bod. You know, I'm much bigger now, of course.
everyone who enjoyed my video, and a tremendous thanks to Reddit user Omnic1, who gifted me the microphone through which all of you are presently appreciating my sonorous voice. I just wanted to get some frustrations about centrists off my chest. This wasn't really meant to be a research-driven effort, but with that said...
Guys, I edited in a noise.
I know basically nothing about audio and video editing.
Clearly.
I know a little bit more than I did when I began this project. I'm still mediocre, though, and I'm looking to improve. So please do be critical with me in those comments.
Nope. Don't ever criticize me. Never again. I've seen my own Reddit. Out of your 3 video essays, I never saw this one. I think it's worse. I do think this one's worse. I did like some little pixel things, and I did like a discursive thing because I was aping off of ContraPoints. We're not watching this one on stream because if we did, I would fucking Roblox myself. I don't want to. However, can we acknowledge that I did a really cute set of pixel sprites for me? Look, I'm like the original Ace Attorney games. Isn't that cute? Look at how cute these are. I'm like Johnny Bravo. Why did the Ace Attorney games not have any, like, super musclehead prosecutor who has the sleeves of his suit torn off so you see his biceps? That would have been cute. This is super cute. Vosh had 2 rant sonas. I think I drew for all of those, like, really early videos. I drew me every time. Like, here's the one where I do a yeah boy, and I drew this. I think this is still the header for my Patreon. Are you against people drawing you with muscles? Why would I be against that? It's funny. By the way, I want to be clear, even though at this time I didn't have a camera, people in the DGG community knew what I looked like because there were some old pictures of me on there. So since they were mostly the ones who were watching my content, I thought it was funny that I'd draw myself like this because they knew, like, obviously I didn't. The bulge? Yeah. Holy shit! Well, I found out how to add audio. This is the best out of the 3 by like a mile. How to trigger reactionaries with facts.
I love debate.
I know. How to trigger reactionaries with facts and logic. I think this was the best of the video essay ones by far. It's got almost 200k views, so it had some kind of lasting appeal. Oh, dude, I edited. Look, I edited in images that aren't just the drawing. South Park clips. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't get ahead of yourself. Clips. I don't know how to add in video. Those were South Park images. What am I using in here?
And there are exceptions, white, cisgender, like this. Try to picture them. This sort of person you are good. Back in that eyes. So let's imagine you are arguing right now. Close your eyes. Lean back in that chair. Let your shoulders get loose. Yeah, just like that. That's good. Now, picture in your mind's eye the sort of person you imagine when I talk about a dishonest, right-leaning reactionary. Do they look like this? No, probably not. When I try to picture them, when I imagine the sort of person I'm describing here, I come up with something like this.
No, just let that be the video. I wonder what I did to my microphone in between the first video and this one, because the voice actually sounds a lot better. The voice crack? I don't actually hear a voice crack. Where?
Here, I come up with something like this.
There it is. Nice. A voice cracking. Yeah, I voice crack so often I don't even hear it anymore. It's like describing water to a fish. You probably move closer to the mic. Yeah. ASMR shit always sounds cringe. Hasanabi commented under this one? Really? Oh, damn, dude. This was back before Hassan blew up on Twitch, and he was doing like streams with Destiny and stuff. So at the time, it was just like we were both up and coming streamers. Well, wait, I wasn't even doing streams at the time. You know what I mean? Now, of course, he hates me. This is some lefty Sun Tzu shit. Love it. Hell yeah, dude. Guys, we did it. We suffered. God almighty. Actually, if anything, I'm fairly surprised with how consistent not only my talking points, but also like the discourse has been since that first video. I feel like, you know, we've expanded, but we're still rooted in the same place, which is fine by me. You know, I'm fine and dandy with my positions. I think you're exaggerating that Reed Witcher-san hates you. Yes, I am, for comedic effect, but I guess a lot of people won't get that. Yeah, wild stuff. No, I don't think we're video essay pilled anymore, lads. Real sorry about that. That is a lot of effort for a relatively small benefit. Now I can just live stream and get donations during the live stream, and then just upload a clip from the live stream, and that'll get as many views as a video essay does. It's great. It's an excellent bit. Lazy, efficient. How much one I have to donate for you to do 1 minute of sissy hypno ASMR? Yeah, sorry, it's not my kink. I'd have to donate quite a lot. I'm not doing that shit. Even if you did donate it. Ooh, you are feeling very girly. You want to give me your money. Ooh, girls like to spend lots of money shopping. Shop for t-shirts at vosh.gg/merch. There we go. Got it. Got him. Oh, for sure, Kevils, yeah. Hassan's mods are fucking insane. It's basically like its own subculture. Why are you a ghost? Because I'm doing the, like, I don't know, You're feeling very gay. I don't know. Vosh gooning. I hate the gooning kink, man. I hate that shit so much. I hate that word. I hate everything I've ever seen of it. I am kink shaming, and not in a fun way. What is it? It's people with like a porn addiction, but the fetish is that they have a porn addiction. You get it? To each their own? I don't get it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Just keep not getting it. What is this? Oh, FD Signifier went on the Bad Faith pod. Third annual and first ever co-ed Dating on the Left episode of Bad Faith Pod. We talk interracial dating, age gap romances, income disparities, and more. I can't even fathom how a conversation like this would go down. I have... The vibes would be so unimaginably off here.
I found that my
high
dating has
achieving.
gotten better as I've gotten older.
Bring me in. I'll talk about interracial dating.
Honestly, it's less like, you know, in my younger 20s, you're always dating a bunch of people doing a bunch of foolishness, running around the place.
Speak for
Like,
yourself.
are you okay? For me.
Ole, did you ever think that you would meet someone in school like FD did? That was always how I thought it was going to go. My parents met in college. I had a college boyfriend that I dated for about 5 years.
Would you like to hear about my college or law school relationship? Please pick one.
Why do you think that those didn't work out?
Let me get my tea. Hold up.
my law school
What is happening? Nothing bad has even happened yet.
ex-boyfriend was the Antichrist, honestly.
Stop!
No, he's a terrible.
Oh my god. Is Brianna Joy Gray wearing the fucking Virgin Killer sweater? She is, isn't she? She's wearing the sweater with the 2 strips of fabric on the torso, with the under one and the over one. It's only got a little bit of a window, but that's the fucking Virgin Killer sweater. A what? Okay, I guess there are a bunch of Virgin Killer sweaters. But it's got the turtleneck and everything. I don't think it's that. With like the window. There are 2 Virgin Killer sweaters, okay? There's the side boob one, and then there's the boob window one. And I can't show any of these images on stream. Okay.
Terrible
Was it
man,
the
like
white dude?
you know, and god awful.
A white
And the
antichrist.
truth comes. I'm up.
What the fuck is happening?
Jason, get the tea while you out, man. Get the tea.
And let me just be clear. Let me make sure I state this before anybody. I just want to have this as a disclaimer.
The management.
I-
I'm about to say the N-word
Virgin Killers are backless and sleeveless? Yeah, I guess so.
again.
I have dated interracially in the past, and I do not do it anymore. I have
Because of
no
that one
problem
white
True, same. Me too. It's not true.
dude.
for
You let that one
everybody
white dude
else.
fuck it up?
It is no.
It was
No,
several white
No,
dudes.
first of all, it's not one, but also this was enough. If I tell you the story, it's enough. Like this was enough. The man was a demon. I am not even starting from the fucking
A
beginning.
white
Let me
demon.
just tell you. Let
Are
me
you
just
in the
give
nation
you.
now? Did he
like-
make you become?
I hate being mixed and hearing these conversations. Yeah, so the charitable reading is, okay, like, Los Angeles, where I grew up, is like a really racially diverse place, right? And I want to be clear. Like, there were black people who grew up in Beverly Hills, and those black people, culturally, were very similar to me. You know? Like, there was a guy on my block who I was friends with up till, like, middle school, and, like, we were just... Like, there was, like, there might as well have not been any racial difference in terms of, like, coded cultural disagreements. But, like, let's be real, okay? There are, most black people in LA are in poorer areas or from the hood or whatever, and I don't have very much in common with them when it comes to, like, day-to-day cultural, familiarity, you know? Like, I'm firmly of the opinion that you could sit somebody down and you could have a conversation with and be friends with anyone, as long as you can understand each other. But I speak the same language as like an Arkansas corn farmer, and I probably wouldn't have that much in common with them either. Over here on the internet, there's a lot more, I guess, cultural interplay, because like if you're online a bunch, you kind of share in a collective culture that everyone has access to, and it's possible that regardless of your race, you might have had the ability to familiarize yourself with a bunch of cultural signifiers that might not be like present in your neighborhood or your city where you grew up. But like day to day, moment to moment, if we're talking like somebody who grew up in Beverly Hills and somebody who grew up in like East Los Angeles or like the Hood or whatever, or fucking a bunch of places downtown, it's not a race thing. It's like a cultural thing, right? Like, would you, if you were black and you were kind of fed up with dating white boys because all the white boys you're dating are like college prep Yale types who wear turtlenecks and are pretentious, and it's like, wow, these guys don't resonate with anything that I know. These guys are hot and they're nice, but like they don't know. Okay, but like you could still meet a white guy who grew up in like your neighborhood or grew up in a neighborhood similar to yours, right? It's not like there aren't white guys who aren't like culturally adjacent to what we would call like black culture. There are tons of them. There's a lot of interplay. Not to mention mixed race people, which is like, you know, there's so much to it. I don't like the idea of like, yeah, I'm done with dating this race, you know? Like, ideally, I would like to have a partner who like gets along with a lot of my like video game, you know, like nerd shit. Like I like online nerdy stuff, so I would want to have a partner who likes that too. Gonna be real with you, most black people probably wouldn't. Gonna be even more real with you, most white people probably wouldn't, right? So if I like dated 2 or 3 black girls who are all from like poorer areas and not very internet familiar, and I like dated them and I was like, man, they're really nice and I like them and they're like cool to be with, but I can't like share my interests with them because we just grew up liking different things. Then it's like, okay, it's the problem here isn't with black girls. The problem here is not internet poisoned people. Like I wouldn't have any more luck like jumping over to like a white like boomer farmer like that wouldn't fix the problem. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like the essential like inherent association between race and culture. That really bothers me. I don't like that at all. You know? I think it's okay to be clear about the cultural stuff. Like, obviously, think about who I am, think about what I'm into. I probably wouldn't get along that much with a lot of people who grew up in the hood because I grew up in fucking Beverly Hills. I obviously experienced a ton of different shit. They would probably find me insufferable to begin with. I probably wouldn't understand a bunch of AAVE slang, and I would be corny as shit, and I would make jokes at the wrong time, and just a whole thing. But that's not a race thing. That's just a cultural familiarity thing. And there are white people who talk AAV as well. You all get me, right? You get what I'm talking about? It's that great enemy, the great evil of humanity. It's essentialization. Most of that slang is Southern, not black. There's a lot of overlap between Southern slang and AAVE, but not perfectly so. Like, if you take a black guy from East LA and you put him in like, I don't know, a mid-range suburb in Georgia or something, there's a lot of gap there. There's a large gap. Yeah, it's complicated. I'm black, but autistic and nerdy, and so apparently not desirable to most black guys. Yeah, one thing that really fucking sucks, and I feel really bad for a small subset of black people on this specific issue, is that black people get a lot of shit for acting white in ways that white people don't necessarily get for acting black. White people who act black are usually poor, which means a lot of the shit they get overlaps with class problems they would have anyway. But in my experience, black people have always been pretty supportive of white guys who act black. Like in my experience, I don't see a lot of gatekeeping there. I've actually seen a ton of instances in real life of white, Asian, and Latino guys who act black because they grew up around a lot of black people in poor neighborhoods, just getting accepted as like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, you know, like, hey, you don't mind that white guy talking like that? And so, well, no, it's one of us, you know? I see that a lot. However, I have noticed there are a lot of black people who are like, I don't know, they act like internet poisoned, nerdy white people, I guess. Like some stuff like that. And I've seen them take a lot of shit because sometimes they get called race traitors, and it's like, they still have to deal with all the problems with being black when it comes to overt racism, but then a lot of black people relate to them, or a lot of black people seem to think there's like an underlying like cultural baseline you have to meet, otherwise you're not really like doing your job as a black person. Like there's something treacherous almost about being black but not like getting certain cultural things, or being familiar with some stuff. I guess that happens to all races to an extent, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of people's perception of acting white also includes neurodivergent behavior. That is true. I don't know if I want to say that whiteness is inherently autistic or autism is inherently white, but I have noticed that like there's definitely a relationship, it seems, between black people not acting black and them being autistic. I wonder if that's because people are more likely to be autistic, or if they're like super internet brained, and internet brained well, no, I guess it would be like if you are autistic, you're more likely to be a social social reject. Social rejects are more likely to go online, and people who are online are more likely to familiarize themselves with kind of aggregate culture of the internet, which is majority white in the Western world for a variety of reasons. I don't know. There were nerdy black kids before the internet. I'm not saying there weren't nerdy black kids. I'm saying autistic, not nerdy. There are nerdy black people who are still like culturally black. That's not a mutually exclusive thing. I'm sure there's some tension there, but yeah. It's the Donald Glover effect. As an African American, this happens often. Bosh, I went to high school with a black B-list celebrity. She had to code switch to acting black so hard when she got famous. It honestly seems like she faces a lot of weird pressures. Yeah. I think because a lot of black people get frustrated if it's like, oh, so which black people make it famous? Oh, it's the ones who are like white, basically, you know, and they get frustrated with that. But then it's like, if you're black and famous, odds are you're probably like culturally, you're probably engaging with a lot of like white people and white culture stuff. And it's like, okay, well, should they not act the way they just kind of naturally act? I don't know. Thank God I don't have to worry about this, because I am a white boy who acts white. I am completely consistent. I am a hegemon right here. Hey, I wonder how that guy with the thick-framed glasses and beard who's wearing an anime t-shirt, sandals, and short shorts at the grocery store is going to act when oh, okay, he made an anime reference. All right, okay. No expectations defied. What you see is what you get. I think you know, Justice. Opinions on Polish food? I don't think I've ever had good Polish food, but I also haven't like tried to. So, how's the new Pilovosh? I haven't got them yet. I had to order them. They weren't there. But they should be here soon. Latinos are the same. If I'm not cosplaying as a cowboy with boots and a hat, I'm apparently not Mexican enough. Nice. Yeah. No normie gets your anime ref. Anime is pretty popular these days. Vosh, what's your history with drawing? I started drawing back in high school because I had a crush on a friend of mine at the time, and they could draw. So I wanted to draw to impress them, and I ended up enjoying the art a lot on its own. I drew Zagreus. See? That friend non-binary now? Yes. Didn't you also become a socialist to pick up chicks? Every decision in my life is optimally calculated to pick up chicks. Growing out the hair, pick up chicks. Cutting the hair, pick up chicks. When I wipe my ass after shitting, I'm thinking, this is a pro, not a con, right? Yeah, you know. Are those dog skulls? Yeah, it's his outfit. It's what he's got going on. Man, my favorite drawing that I have saved to this computer has fucking titties on it. I have to censor it. No. There we go. Fucking YouTube, man. Wait, god damn it. There we go, I fixed it. I really got to draw more. I think there's art that I have to do for a currently running D&D campaign that I've been putting off for a while. I really have to do that. We talked about the Super Bowl? No, we're coming up in it, though. We've seen this before. Yeah, I haven't drawn anything in like 8 months. Probably should, though. I have like a lot of really, really, really expensive paints. Arm seems too short. Yeah, well, who asked you? Oh, Quoteth. You remember. That's nice. Any updates to the comic story? Oh, I don't want to get rumbling about that. What about the hate crime? Yeah, you mean the content of the stream? Guys, we're not even 2 hours in the stream. Why are people talking like the stream's over? People are like, hey, we talked about this, we talked about that. Oh, well, maybe we will. We probably will. Seems reasonable that that'll happen. Game update? No game update. How's your game coming along? Don't ask me about that. Your chapter 1 idea sounded really cool. I genuinely want to see it made. But that's I can't. I feel like the people in my community have had enough of me rambling about my fucking story ideas that I'll never actually do. I DM Thomas Most. It's with Vermin and Vermin's boyfriend and Vermin's boyfriend and Vermin's friends. You become a true programmer, starting 5 projects and not even half finishing any of them. The next thing I have to do is I have to draw a character from the D&D campaign that I'm currently doing. The basic premise of the campaign functionally being that there are a bunch of like eldritch creature acolytes that used to rule the entire planet and died off thousands of years ago, except for a small portion of the world that was untouched until recently because a hurricane was, or like a cyclone, was protecting an archipelago, but it just recently faded. So all the navies of the world descended on the archipelago to loot it because it had been like a raging storm for thousands and thousands of years. And they found the clinging remnants of this ancient empire of like 9-foot tall, like Ichthian beasts. Like big, fleshy, I'm thinking kind of like Shadow over Innsmouth. Kind of duders. I don't know. Have to draw it. What was Twink Death about? It was just me rambling about Twitter dynamics. Oh, hold your horses, save point. We're not going that far down the we're not going that far down the distraction from the stuff in the title stream rabbit hole. John Cena looks good here. Wonder why he's dressed like this. I don't even know why. It's crazy how fucking big he is. You don't normally see clothes like this. Movie role? I mean, like, what role or what reason? You don't normally see clothes like this being worn by ultra big guys, obviously. And he looks kind of like a cartoon character, doesn't he? Like, look, you're so used to seeing this on people with wider hips and narrower shoulders. So he's in it, and he looks like Johnny Bravo. Like, he's got this enormous upper body. And then his torso and his hips are like the same width. But it's not like he has small legs. I mean, his legs are huge. It's just... It's not too late for her. True. Watch the Donkey Hogwarts video. No? Harry Potter and the Forbidden Game. And then it looks like he just doesn't play it. Spoilers. I've always thought Donkey is like universally beloved with left-leaning people, I think. There's no fucking way Donkey isn't fully familiar with all the transphobia discourse. Close this, close that. We're gonna do the thing now, okay? Hold on. We're doing the thing. Okay. Kind of hard to get ahead of Twitter on this one, considering how much attention it's been given in such a short time. You've probably heard of Brianna Gay, a trans girl, only 16, who was stabbed to death in England, allegedly a country. Found by members of the public at Linear Park in Colchester, Warrington, Cheshire on Saturday. Emergency services were called. She was found lying on a path with stab wounds. Brianna was a trans girl, but detectives said there was no evidence to suggest that her murder was a hate crime. So, a couple of deets here. Now, obviously, yeah, being stabbed to death on a public park. I mean, emergency services were called just after 15 GMT. I mean, we're talking middle of the day, public park. Not the most ordinary circumstances for a crime, you know, at all. Seen a lot of movies and TV shows where wild stuff happens, but over in reality, it's not actually that common for people to just be randomly stabbed to death in the middle of a park. Especially since the two people who did it were both 15. Apparently, and this is, you know, probably not at all surprising to you if you're familiar with trans teenagers and England as concepts. She had been bullied for years because of her gender identity. It seems like the bullying had not meaningfully been addressed. Let's give this a look. Have the court here is on. I say so right through my heart. It says consoles. It's boys club. Having dealt with thousands of bullies. It seems like, you know, as you can presumably imagine for somebody in her situation, her last name is pronounced with a J as in J. Ah, okay. That's much less easy for people to make fun of. You all know how this goes. Now, the police have said that there is no reason to believe that this is a hate crime. I think that is a very silly perspective to take right off the bat. I do not know why they would announce that unless they're motivation was to paper over a hate crime. It seems very strange to me that they would look at a situation like this and not sort of default to that, or at the very least, like, not give it open to consideration. I mean, saying that there is no evidence to suggest that her murder was a hate crime, like, right off the bat like that. I don't know. There's a lot of other stuff here that people have been talking about. So what I have here are two archived links to the Sunday Times describing the situation. Both of them are the same article at different times. Edits were made. So, which one's the first one? This has since been remended, but the initial article that came out, it seems, referred to her as a transgender teenager, and then edits were made which simply referred to her as a teenage girl. Interestingly, it seems like they removed demographic qualifiers in a way which, how do I put this? Okay, you know how when a trans person commits a crime, the headline is transgender trans female identified male who is trans after transitioning did a crime transidly, so on and so forth, right? See, there's a lot of weight to the narratives that you construct when you bring attention to certain details in situations like that. Obviously, if you overemphasize the race, sex, gender identity of a person who's just committed a crime, you're kind of implying there's something to that, you know? On the other hand, obviously, if you downplay or omit demographic information after a crime has been committed against a person, you're doing the exact same thing, just in reverse. You are downplaying the role that their demographic identity had in what happened to them. Apparently, that alteration to the Sunday Times has since been remended, so it got changed and changed again. I don't know the exact details of this. It's also entirely possible that this is some kind of backroom editorial conflict. I'm not trying to suggest that, like, the police secretly collaborated with the press to, like, hide all of the information or something. But over in the UK, the press is known to be quite transphobic, and the police historically have not been tremendous allies of marginalized demographics. Brianna J. posted on TikTok just hours before she was murdered. She had 60,000 followers on TikTok. Oh, wow. That's quite a lot. Huh. It's unfortunate. At first, they had her dead name. They literally got the info from her optician to find it. Really? Appalled to note the Times to update their article on the killing of Brianna J. to remove all references to her being a girl and add her dead name. The Times have restored some of the references to Brianna as a girl and have removed her dead name from the article. Her dead name. When did that come up? In which? Ah, there it is. Brianna was born as Brett, but been living as a girl for several months. Right. Okay, gotcha. Great. Fantastic. Extremely necessary research being done there. From the Sunday Times, you know, like, contact every medical expert in the vicinity. Somebody has their medical records. We will find their dead name. Gotcha. Yeah, so to talk about this, to be I guess to be a little more prescriptive here. So, obviously, we don't know that the murder was a hate crime. It is, I think, reasonable to assume. I mean, again, we're literally talking two 15-year-olds, like, sprinting at somebody. A 16-year-old in the middle of the day in a public park. You know what? Just to satisfy my curiosity, Warrington Park, England. Is it a nice park? I want to know. I will satisfy my curiosity here. Linear Park in Kolcheth is what it is. Linear Park Kolcheth. See, I don't actually have any mental image of what a bad part of town in England is like. Like here in America, I know what it looks like. But over in England, I just imagine a bunch of people with like, I don't know, flintlock pistols and maybe like a cuirass. Sort of, you know, or somebody like juggling knives as you walk past an alleyway. I don't know. We don't have guns, silly. Yeah. Colchester Linear Park, warrington.gov.uk. So Warrington's a what? A district? This area looks quite nice. Again, my preconceptions here are mostly American ones, not English ones. But this doesn't really, to me, look like the kind of place where somebody would just randomly have two people sprint at them and stab them to death. That's a good park for us. Well, nice dog. Typical place to get killed in the UK. In the middle of the day? That's normal for a park in Bongerland? Well, that's a lot better than most American parks, I'll say that much. Yeah. Huh? A lot of parks looked at in the UK, including overpasses. Okay, all right, we're off the beaten path here. Now it's usually a night thing. Overwhelmingly, when people get murdered, especially in public places, it happens at night for reasons that I imagine should be fairly obvious. It is remarkably uncommon for deaths to happen under these circumstances. Officers were continuing to work to trace the weapon and establish a motive for the attack. We'll see. The age of the killer seemed to be 15 or 16. They dumb and bigoted. I'm interested in seeing how things develop. See, the problem is, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this isn't about the actual circumstances of the murder. It was more to do with the general response that we've seen to it. See, this is how things normally go when it comes to hate crimes. It's not often easy or even possible to prove if a hate crime has taken place. I mean, sometimes it's really obvious, you know, like you have a video or pictures, or they get caught and they confess. I mean, sometimes you can prove it, but oftentimes I feel you can't, and there's just this lingering uncertainty. Sometimes they'll get prosecuted on hate crime charges after the fact, even if it's never definitively proven. It's just considered likely. And sometimes it seems very likely that it was a hate crime, but it's never proven and it's never like criminally brought up. I don't really know. What I'm, I guess, more interested in is just the discourse around this, frankly. The way people are reacting. It indicates a remarkable level of distrust in both the press and the police, which is not at all surprising. I think those are warranted distrusts from people following the story. But if we take those out a couple steps, how exactly can we reasonably expect the press or the police to you know, offer any kind of insight or clarity into the circumstances surrounding hate crimes if we feel they have a penchant for covering them up? We know how this went with, say, Jim Crow laws in the US, right? Like, black people didn't trust the mainstream white media narrative on whether or not the killing of a black person was justified or not justified. Why would they? They know the system's skewed against them. It would be ridiculous for them to just be like, oh, okay, you know, three black men killed, comma, it was their fault. Oh, okay, well, I knew them and they seemed like nice guys, and And they weren't a sundown town, but yeah, you know, like they understand that. They're aware of the fact that the distrust is warranted, but they also existed in a kind of parallel society, right? We see this in apartheid. We saw this with Jim Crow here in America. Black people had their own communities and they had their own spaces to discuss and to arrive at conclusions about situations like this. With this Brianna J situation, what is there but just fear and paranoia? Sincerely, I'm asking, what is like the metric? What's the template for moving forward? It might well be that the attack on her wasn't a hate crime. It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it is possible. I mean, how do you even abide by a standard of inquiry there? What method would you suggest? I don't know. I'm asking chat. Doesn't that always work out for collective education? Me asking chat and sort of provide your wisdom for me? The police in the UK have gotten a massive amount of heat after an officer got charged for raping and killing a woman, and another one just got charged for 42 rapes. Wow. Remarkable. Elite Metropolitan Police Officer David Carrick revealed as serial rapist. Carrick, 48, carried out 85 serious offenses over 17 years, despite force being told repeatedly of allegations. One woman's act of bravery exposed officers' abuse and met failures. I can kill you. How Met officer terrorized women over 2 decades. Great. Meanwhile, the British press will fearmonger over the sexual threat that trans women in women's prisons pose, despite there being no evidence of any harm there, and there being altogether something like 6 trans women in women's prisons. Vosh, it couldn't have been reasonably anything other than a hate crime. She'd endured tons of transphobic bullying from her peers. The school basically said, we don't care, you should be nice to them. And the people who killed her were those same peers. Do you know that? Do you know the identity of the 2 people who killed her? Is that known information? Not to say it's unlikely, but as in they were the same age, not literally the same school. Yeah, well, same age. Have they been apprehended? I'm sure we would have heard if they'd been apprehended. Maybe nothing at all will happen. Either way, it is deeply sad. They have been arrested. Oh, they were. Has info been released on them? The Telegraph article said that they hadn't been able to find the murder weapon. I'm not entirely sure. Didn't you literally read out the 2 of them are in custody? I'm sorry if I did. I am desperately sleep deprived. They've said they showed no remorse. Could you link that, please? Oh my god, I genuinely am in desperate need of sleep. Boy and girl arrested over Warrington Park. I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. It completely flew past me. I apologize. Does anyone what article says they have demonstrated no remorse though? Because that would be a further testament towards it being a hate crime. They won't be publicly named because they're minors. No. I get that, but the whole no remorse thing is an interesting detail that I haven't seen here. Maybe they made it up. Sorry, I wish I had something a little more bombastic to deliver to all of you, but it is just sad. It is very, very sad. Trans hate crimes in the UK up 56% from between March 2021 and March 2022. Yeah. Behavior designed to bring about the destruction of a group in whole or in part. It's all very deliberate stuff. One big issue is that Brianna J is listed as male on her death certificate because the UK does not have self-ID laws, and the 2004 Gender Recognition Act required trans people must apply for an official gender change on government documents by obtaining a gender recognition certificate. Yeah, it feels particularly prescient that the Scottish self-ID gender bill that was vetoed in an unprecedented decision by Westminster would have fixed that problem. It's uselessly cruel. Yeah. What if the arrested people state in court they were inspired by JKR? I don't think that'll happen. That would be pretty remarkable. However, the likelihood of it being a hate crime seems pretty high. The Scottish law wouldn't have applied to England. No, I mean like the logic of the law. Like that law would have fixed it, you know. Bedtime? Somebody just linked this in all caps bedtime, which I respect. Bedtime. Bedtime. Can you cover this story? 3 trans women were shot, with one of them being killed, along with her mother, and prosecutors are declining to bring charges. What the hell is going on in Chicago? Prosecutors declined to charge teen arrested in mass shooting at South Shore apartment. Okay. The 19-year-old man lives in the same apartment complex where 2 women were killed and 3 other people were wounded in an apparent robbery attempt. Feels kind of weird to say teen when they're 19. Like, I know 19 is a teen, but colloquially, you wouldn't really refer to a 19-year-old as a teenager. Like, when you say teen, people are going to think like 13, 14, 15, like a minor, not a 19-year-old. Prosecutors have declined to charge a man identified as the person who burst into a South Shore apartment last month and opened fire during an apparent robbery attempt, killing a mother and her transgender daughter and wounding 3 others, including 2 other trans women. A lot of trans women here, it seems. Late on Jan 26, 3 days after the mass shooting, Chicago police executed a warrant at the same apartment complex, where the 19-year-old suspect also lives, according to an arrest report obtained through a public records request. He had been identified in photo lineups as the person who forced his way into the apartment, demanded cash, and shot the 5 victims, according to the report. He was arrested but ultimately released from custody on January 29th. What? The Sun-Times isn't identifying the suspect because he hasn't been charged with a crime? Okay. The arrest report shows felony charges weren't brought by prosecutors and the case was marked as a continuing investigation. It was kicked back to police pending further investigation. What? A spokesperson for the state's attorney's office said prosecutors did not approve or reject charges in the case. After a review of the initial information brought to us by CPD, we informed police the additional evidence was needed before a final charging decision could be made. What? The suspect has 2 pending cases in Cook County Court, a felony count of residential burglary and a misdemeanor count of domestic battery. What? Is this guy like the son of a senator or something? What? I don't even have anything to say. It's too confusing. First of all, this doesn't seem like a hate crime, right? If it was an apparent robbery attempt, it seems kind of unlikely. Wait, but then again, was he not at the same apartment? So he would have known them, or at least known about them. But he has a history of crimes, but not arrested? People are being released on bail fairly regularly. Yeah, but he hasn't even been released on bail. Also, they probably wouldn't do that for somebody who, like, murdered one of their own apartment mates. I don't I don't even know what's going on here. Most competent Chicago Police Department. So one of two things can be happening here, okay? Either that kid has connections, or the police fucked something up massively here and are covering it. It's one of those two. Those are the only two possible fucking things that could be happening. Robbing, shooting 5 people, and murdering one in your apartment, and then 3 days later the police show up in the same apartment. 3 days later, the police show up and you don't get charged with anything? Any updates? This article is 5 days old. South Shore murder, Chicago. No. The most recent article I see is this one. The police may have been forced to release him without collecting evidence for fat enough because you can't hold someone indefinitely if they haven't been charged with a crime. Yeah, but that they don't release people for no reason under those circumstances. Like if they arrest somebody on like suspicion of murder, but they haven't found enough evidence yet to like fully lay the charge, they don't just release you until like the evidence gathering part of laying out a charge can take a long time. The district attorney, the prosecutor just has to be confident enough to lay a charge at your feet, or at the very least to like hold you on suspicion. Option 3, it could just be they're poor and the victim was a trans and ethnic person. The cops don't care. No, I don't actually think it was that. The police love cracking down and arresting poor people who kill other poor people. That's the entire way they maintain like the like the new Jim Crow, like fucking school to prison pipeline bullshit. If they didn't police stuff that ethnic minorities and marginalized people did to each other, then it wouldn't have any power. Option 4, the 19-year-old dude was a white dude. I mean, probably, yeah, but that's not enough. I know we like to talk about white privilege on this stream, but I hope we all realize that being white on its own will not literally allow you to commit murder, and then the police are just like, nah, to go. That's not. There's something else. There has to be something else. Wait, really? Yeah, I wouldn't try that one. Well, that's a fucking weird story. Hold on, I'm so sniffly today. God. Or they're just done pretending, but wait and see. I don't think it's that simple. we have to be critical of these systems on a systemic level. If we just give it up to you know, well, they're white, of course. I feel like we potentially miss out on a lot of analysis. A lot of analytical work we're leaving on the table there.
Right.
Ignore that. I wanted to see if Ben Shapiro had his required complaining about the Super Bowl halftime video out yet. Who would? Matt Walsh, what about you? Oh, there it is. Oh no, it's the whole episode. Yeah, Matt Walsh is getting more views on YouTube than Ben Shapiro lately. I'm telling you guys, the dynamic is shifting. Here, Super Bowl begins with the Black National Anthem, and it's an utter disgrace. Fascinating.
Today the Matt Walsh.
Shut up. My dad wouldn't watch the halftime show because it was apparently satanic. Well, I haven't seen it at all. We are going through a modern satanic panic, though. I mean, did you see all of the crying and pissing and shitting and so on about that one dance number with the person and they were wearing red, or they were in like a red light, and they were concerned, and Elon Musk was like, really feels like the end times, doesn't it? We've been getting a lot of stuff like this on the feed lately. Fairly Sam Smith, yeah, I don't know who that is. Fairly unironic, like satanic panic fear-mongering. Sam Smith is a pop star? Well, I figured that. I think he looks ridiculous, personally. Is Walsh worse than Shapiro? Yes, by far. Elon Musk was deemed satanic for his Halloween costume. Yeah, not to say there's any consistency in the satanic panic, fear-mongering bullshit, but it is kind of funny how Elon Musk's last Halloween costume was this. His costume is called the Devil's Champion Leather Armor Set. I mean, pick and choose, right?
Show the Super Bowl.
You are so loud. This is the whole live stream, though. Here, where's the UFO situation? Train derailed with toxic chemicals on board. Do you think he's going to mention the fact that Trump presided over the deregulation of the rail industry in a way that directly contributed to this incident happening? How fake is that backdrop? I'd say pretty fake. You mean the trees, right? The shelf behind him isn't fake. New Indiana Jones movie trailer dropped. Really? Wait, I haven't heard that. I'm learning about this from a Matt Walsh stream.
Much less important news. On a lighter note.
Wait, is the shelf fake? Oh, I guess it is.
Now let's talk about Walsh's complete wheel package. That's epicwheel.com, promo code Walsh. Now let's talk about UFOs.
Yeah, I guess it is. Interesting. That's a pretty good green screen. They're just keying him out really well. Just a different angle? No, I don't know, whatever.
Again, it's one of those things people talk about for like...
He's still in the car. It's an elaborate, high-tech, Daily Wire green screen set. He's still in the car. He's still talking about the fertility of 16-year-old girls. All of this is just an elaborate artifice to get some content out of him. They're essentially deep faking the entire show. What new Indiana Jones trailer? Looks like shit. Okay, anyway, Super Bowl. Let's go.
Today. Well, it has finally happened. The alien invasion has begun.
Nope.
Thing to do right now. And if it's not the most reasonable, then it is at least the most fun.
Nope.
This is the hardest pill for me to swallow as an alien enthusiast.
Nope.
And many people expected that this would be enough. We imagined that all the people of the world would see the phrase "end racism" written in the end zone And they would all say, wow, the NFL is right. We should end racism.
God willing.
And then racism would be ended and global peace and harmony would commence. After all, racism only exists in the world because no one has ever suggested that it shouldn't exist. So we simply needed the NFL to go, hey, what if we cut out that racism stuff? And everyone would respond, oh, so we shouldn't be racist? Geez, okay, well, we hadn't thought of that.
So Matt Walsh is sneeringly disingenuous. He doesn't really make like real arguments unless he's talking about the breedability of teenage girls. So usually you have to kind of like respond to what he's disingenuously saying. So the real response to the disingenuous point here is that yes, obviously fronting an anti-racist position is a component of getting large numbers of people to stop believing in it. But broadly speaking, however, I agree that stuff like here, let me see if I can find an image. Super Bowl and racism. See, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I'm about to learn about it from him. Yeah, here we go. See, it says end racism over there. And it also says the Chiefs right here. So it says end racism and end racism Chiefs, like only go after the top dogs of racism, maybe. It's LARPy liberal virtue signaling. It's also totally harmless. The reason Matt Walsh doesn't like it isn't because he is bothered by the insincerity of the argument. It's because he likes racism. Always remember, if a conservative is crying about, like, I don't know, Disney going woke and saying, hey, we should be all equal regardless of our race, their issue isn't with it being ham-fisted or with it being in their faces or whatever. They don't mind ham-fisted politics. They mind those specific politics. You see all the complaining they did about the Proud Family reboot? Actually, I'll admit some of those segments were a bit preachy, but it's a kid's show, I guess.
And that would be it. At least that's what we thought. But somehow this strategy has proven insufficient. And so it has added, the NFL has added another prong to their anti-racist battle plan. And yet again last night, the Super Bowl began with the performance of two national anthems. There's the regular national anthem, the one written by Francis Scott Key after he watched British ships lay siege to Fort McHenry in Baltimore during the War of 1812. And then the so-called black national anthem called Lift Every Voice and Sing. This was the third year in a row where the most watched sporting event of the year featured a special national anthem for one special racial group. It's the third time the broadcast has featured the song, yet it's the first time that the song was performed on the field, which is significant because that's, of course, how they also performed the real national anthem.
Wait, I need to listen to it. What does the black national anthem sound like? Is it going to be fire? Listen, okay, we're ruling. I'm now the judge, okay? I am perfectly qualified. I am a white boy who listens to EDM, video game music, and anime soundtracks. I don't know the difference between rap and hip-hop. All right, with that all out of the way, let's judge the black national anthem. All I see when I Google black national anthem is conservatives complaining about it. Is that not actually what it's called? The black national anthem? Because the only people who are calling it that seem to be conservatives. There's Anthony Brian Logan. I remember this guy being pretty dumb. Black conservative perspective. That is a white guy who looks like me. That's not actually who runs the channel, right? Okay, there we go. There's a black guy. All right. Whew.
She's upset because...
Oh, no. I was getting worried for a second. See, look, it's all con outrage shit. Lift Every Voice will probably get you there quicker. So only they're calling it the black national anthem. So it's not a special extra national anthem. It's just an extra song. It's a Christian hymn. Whoa! Are conservatives complaining about Christianity in our media?
To perform lift.
Voice I see till earth and heaven.
There's no synthesizer. I think it's trash. I now have the racial politics of a white man in the 1950s who spends most of his time on a golf range. All right, moving on.
Now, all of this is, of course, totally grotesque and outrageous.
Completely agree. There wasn't even a bass drop.
And the kind of gratuitous display that no country...
To be serious, it's a song. It's a song played. It's a song.
outside of the Western world would ever be stupid enough to allow. And yes.
What? A song? A Christian hymn? What? Okay.
I use the word allow here intentionally. You'll notice that nowhere else do they permit individual racial groups to come up with their own national anthems that are then performed before major events.
Okay, sorry. Lift every voice and sing lyrics. What's even being said here? Here, we're getting this one straight from the NAACP. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty, let our rejoicing rise. High as the skies, let it resound as loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on to victory as one. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days where hope unborn had died. Yet with steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place where our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with our tears been watered. We've come treading a path, the blood of the slaughtered, of the grooming classes, weekly the reverse stars cast God, thy might, God. This is Christian shit. Matt, are you doing a Satanism?
That's the sort of thing that can only happen here.
Matt?
And I don't mean that as a compliment. Now, there are, as always, some people looking to defend the indefensible and minimize even the most outrageous excesses.
You might notice he hasn't actually made an argument. Matt Walsh actually never makes an argument, which means he's the pure form of a fascist. He literally never does it. Like, seriously, you can watch his streams all day long. He will never actually make an argument. He will simply say the thing he believes and then use, every adjective in the book to sort of lay out how he feels you should think on the issue he's describing. He won't tell you why. He'll just say how you should feel.
Of leftism, there are even conservatives who enjoy participating in this pastime. There are many conservatives who love doing this. And from those people who we've heard that, well, the Lift Every Voice and Sing, it's a nice gospel song. It's not actually a national anthem, so there's no reason for us to object to it. They didn't call it the Black National Anthem during the broadcast, after all. They didn't specifically say that during the broadcast.
Apparently, the only people who are promoting it as the Black National Anthem are the NAACP. And it should note, by the way, I think the NAACP has made some boneheaded fucking decisions. So I'm not by any means obliged to, everyone just sort of mentally picture Rachel Dolezal's OnlyFans in your head, if you will. And not at all obliged to agree with everything they've ever done or said. Apparently, they started promoting it as a Black National Anthem back in the early 20th century, about a century ago. Back during Jim Crow era. I feel like suggesting now that it's a Black National Anthem is a little bit silly, but it's mostly conservatives doing it.
For example, a guy named Ross Schumann, who identifies himself as a conservative, made this case to me last night. He tweeted, quote, "At no point in time was Lift Every Voice and Sing called a national anthem on the broadcast. Why do you take the left's bait?" Well, except that the NAACP has billed the song as the Black National Anthem since 1917.
I said that, but so they've billed it like that, okay? I mean, the white supremacists back in 1917 would probably have argued that the American national anthem was a white man's anthem. Of what relevance is this?
Not to mention, The woman who performed the song at the game, Cheryl Lee Ralph, said that she was performing the Black National Anthem. That's what she said. She posted, quote, "It is no coincidence that I'll be singing the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, at the Super Bowl on the same date it was first publicly performed 123 years ago. Happy Black History Month." So
Damn. Yeah, good for her. And her big, silly dress.
everyone, including the performer herself, knows what the song is and why it's being performed. There's a reason they had her sing it on the field with the audience in the stadium standing in solemn reverence, just as they do for the real national anthem.
Wait, whoa. Hold on. It's considered etiquette to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. People often stand for the national anthem. Is it now considered etiquette to stand during this other song that a lot of people, especially people with my fucking melanin tone, would never have heard of? I don't. Is that true? Do I have to go look at like Super Bowl footage to see? I'm pretty sure you can sit down for it.
There's a reason why every media report has hailed the inspirational rendition of the, quote, Black National Anthem, and they've all called it that.
Eagles fans are so fat they can't stand up. Whoa! True. I don't know anything about the Eagles or their fans, except for EDP 445 apparently is an Eagles fan. So,
specifically, the media, the NFL, the left, they're not celebrating the performance of a gospel hymn. Okay, their intention is not to glorify God. That's not what they're excited about. That may be
the majority of Americans are Christian, unfortunately. So when somebody's singing a gospel hymn and it mentions God, I think actually yes to most Americans that would have some kind of like some kind of Christian meaning to it. Probably. I wouldn't know, but I assume that is the case.
The focus of the lyrics in the song, but that's not why it's included in the broadcast. And that's not the intention behind its performance.
I mean, I imagine that the reason it's being performed here is probably because football as a sport just is, let's be real, black people are holding this shit up like Atlas has the world, okay? The subject of like racial politics when it comes to sports is pretty complicated, and I don't want to get into it that much, but I think a common criticism from Soviet Russia back during the Cold War was that so many great American pastimes are wealthy white men watching like poor black men, you know, like duke it out for the privilege of getting to escape poverty. You know, whether it be boxing or football or basketball or whatever. Obviously, they're not all poor, of course. You know, professional football players are very wealthy, but there's definitely like a class and racial dynamic. All they ever do is bring up the hypocrisy argument. It's so boring. Conservatives, yeah, because again, it saves you from having to make an argument yourself. It frees you of the obligation. It's very common with conservatives for that reason. Wasn't basketball really a white sport for a long time? Well, all sports in America were white sports for a long time. A lot of their respective professional leagues only let black people in the 50s and 60s and stuff. You know? Yeah, except for hockey, where black people are still not allowed to play. And curling.
The intention is to do the only thing a racialized national anthem can do, which is to divide Americans along racial lines, elevate some races above others. You know, some races are special and they get 2 national anthems, while the rest of us have to settle for just one.
The song is literally called, like, We're All Together or something. The song is literally about equality. It doesn't even mention black people. Nowhere in the song are there any lyrics that are supremacist. The problem, yeah, lift every voice. The problem here is that this is like deliberate rhetorical dishonesty, which, again, it's Matt Walsh. What do you expect? Because when the NAACP and when people broadly call it the Black National Anthem, even though I don't like the term, what they're saying there is like, this is a song that has great meaning to black Americans because it speaks to a specific experience. How much can black Americans really relate to the American national anthem, considering the fact that they would have been slaves at the time it was written. The time period that is being described, the experience being described in the American national anthem, is one during which the vast majority of black people in the United States were slaves. So here's a song that's more about overcoming adversity, and it's like, here's the black national anthem. But what Matt Walsh is doing here, Matt Walsh is playing on the implied institutional weight of a national anthem, suggesting that because it's called a national anthem by some people, this means that black people are somehow distinct and legally superior to us, at least in some kind of culturally affirmative way. Like he's essentially saying like, yes, but they get their own special distinct national anthem because they're socially privileged above us, like the Hunger Games or something. I don't know. The implication he's playing on here is like the idea of there being some kind of cultural weight to a national anthem outside, in this case, just being a sort of theme song. He's being dishonest is what he's doing. That is true.
While diminishing our most cherished national traditions.
What? How does that diminish? Okay, we're going to explain that or justify it or make an argument? First of all, fuck our national traditions. But second of all, what? Okay.
Because the message of the Black National Anthem is that the actual national anthem isn't enough. It isn't good enough. It isn't inclusive enough.
That's true. In fact, a good Super Bowl would simply have the national anthem and then not even play football after. Because if you play football after, what you're implying is that you came there for anything more than just the national anthem. You should show up to the Super Bowl stadium. Everyone should rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, hear the anthem, and then everyone should leave and go home.
Like, nobody disagrees that black people should have a national anthem. No one is saying that, there's no one is looking at black people and saying, you don't get a national anthem. This isn't for you. No.
Let me see where he's going with this.
The point is that the national anthem is everyone's national anthem. So if you're a black person, that's your national anthem. If you're a white person, that's your national anthem. If you're a Native American, that's your national anthem. It's everyone's national anthem.
So we've talked about this before. Yeah, this is the all lives matter kind of thing. We've talked about this before. This is the conservative appealing to an imagined meritocracy as a way of making it seem as though any deviation from the status quo is actually like a reverse racism overcorrection, basically. The weird thing is that like conservatives are constantly saying that elements of our culture, of our government, of our institutions have failed us, and we need to create an alternative that's less woke. Like, we hear this all the time. Conservatives are constantly signaling for the need to break away from like corrupted American institutions and form their own alternatives, you know? They do this all the time, constantly, because fear-mongering that mainstream media, that the government, that everything are all captured by liberal progressives, by degenerates. That's like the mainstay of their arguments. They need to make that point. But then, like, when somebody else is like, okay, yeah, but also we want to have a song that sort of means something to us, they're like, what? So you're saying the mainstream normative status quo isn't enough for you? You fucking piece of shit. You fucking scumbag. And they completely pivot on their heel on these arguments every time.
But the other message, the other idea behind this, which is just as false and just as insidious, is that the situation, this is what they're trying to claim, this is why they're doing it, that the situation hasn't improved.
Is this like doublespeak? Yes. Two toes? Yes, that is correct. This would be an actual example of doublespeak, the concept in 1984. That is true. It is very straightforwardly a set of arguments that complement each other, but only if you simultaneously hold two mutually exclusive positions. And a lot of conservatives believe them both. Matt Walsh knows that he's lying, but a lot of average day-by-day conservatives don't. I also want to point out, by the way, that conservatives have never had an issue before with any alteration to our great American tradition when it comes to the national anthem before a sports game, as long as the alterations serve their political biases. So they have never minded, like, here's a veteran from the Iraq War coming out to talk about this, or, you know, here's an extra song, or this or that. I've been to enough baseball games to know that the great American tradition of just doing the anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance is constantly subverted in favor of whatever the fuck the stadium runners wanted to do that day. This happens all the time. We're only pretending that this is an issue here for fairly obvious reasons.
Proved much for black people since the song was declared the black national anthem over 100 years ago.
Hold on.
This is what they're trying to claim. This is why they're doing it. That the situation hasn't improved much for black people since the song was declared the black national anthem over 100 years ago. It was a rallying cry during the civil rights battle. Well, bringing it back now, not just bringing it back, but elevating it to a status equal to or even surpassing the real national anthem is meant.
Equal to or surpassing? They've done multiple songs adjacent to the national anthem plenty of times. This is not
meant to send the message that black people still do not have their rights, that the civil rights battle of 100 years ago is still ongoing.
Yes, that is true. He's correct here. That is the point of the song. It's an indication of solidarity with a given struggle. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Which is all total nonsense.
Of course.
And we see yet again that those
argument,
supposedly fighting against racism are in fact determined to create racial divides.
See, remember what I said? A false appeal to a meritocracy so that anyone who defies the status quo can be accused of overcorrecting and being an actual, like, reverse racist or whatever. Remember?
Deepen them where they already existed, open new wounds and reopen old ones, and keep the resentments of the past forever at the forefront of our minds.
Except you might notice the only people complaining about this are the conservatives. So, if anything, it seems like they're looking for any possible excuse to exacerbate, to worsen, to profit from these racial divides. You know, most Americans would have just heard the song and thought, oh, that's a nice song. Or maybe a lot of them thought, get to the fucking game. I don't care. Give me my game. Whatever. You know, it's America. Believe what you want to believe. But it's conservative media exclusively that's hyperfixating on this, which suggests to me, I mean, if they really don't want to, you know, exacerbate racial tensions in this country, you feel like they wouldn't use such invectives. They wouldn't make claims like it's ridiculous that there's any kind of civil rights struggle to be fought today. But obviously.
The whole point of performing the national anthem, the real national anthem, is to, first of all, show our respect and gratitude for this country and for the traditions in our country.
Don't care.
And for the people who have, you know, made all this possible for us. It's also to show our unity and to celebrate our national identity.
How often, by the way, have you guys heard Matt Walsh talk about the need for national unity and talk about how the American Pledge of Allegiance the national anthem is meant to be like an appeal to Native Americans' home and also to the home of African Americans and the home of everyone? It's almost as though the only time he's interested in putting forward like a facade of liberal togetherness is when he's using it to stamp out on the idea that any actual work could still be done. Doublespeak.
Under one flag and one God. That's the point. But the powers that be don't share that goal.
The powers that be. That's an interesting choice of words. Not like the NFL showrunners. You know, there's a specific organization that runs the Super Bowl. It's not like the Illuminati. There's a specific group of people. You could probably just like Google who was in charge of scheduling and staffing for any given event. Like, it's not, this isn't like a hidden process. You can just look it up. But no, it's the powers that be.
Their goal is exactly the opposite. And that's what the Black National Anthem is really all about. Now let's get to our headlines.
Yeah, I suppose that about tracks. Who could those powers be? Interesting. Huh. He's implying other folks are in charge, same dog whistle, different day. Yeah, it's just, remember, like, conservatives only care about tradition if it's tradition that benefits them. They talk about valuing tradition, but keep in mind, if there was, like, a long-standing NFL tradition of a Black Power solidarity, you know, that had been going back for, like, 80 years now, they wouldn't like that. They would say that's woke nonsense. They only care about traditions disproportionately because traditions are from the past, and the past was more reactionary. And as a product, they can appeal to the values of the past in tradition form as a way of stamping out modern progressivism. They don't care about changes being made to the NFL or Super Bowl formula. If the Super Bowl, for instance, had like the American national anthem, and then because the NFL was controlled by like a bunch of hogs, after that they did like a MAGA rap or whatever, or they had Donald Trump go out there for an impromptu rally, or just any like insane bullshit like that. Matt Walsh should have no issue with it, like none at all. It's obviously not about the virtue of tradition, not on its own. Yeah, if Tom McDonald had gone out there. The immigration tradition seems to not be brought up by them. Curious. You know, America basically had like no immigration law when it was founded. I mean, eventually we got the Chinese Exclusion Act, but for a long, long time, if you weren't Chinese, like entering America was basically you showed up there. That was it. Functionally, America had open borders in its creation, and then Chinese exclusion open borders for a while after that. The idea of maintaining a modern border is a modern thing. Do you think like feudal kingdoms had borders? You know, a lot of people don't realize this because they play a lot of Hearts of Iron, but you know, you'll look at a map of like medieval Europe, and it'll be like, yes, this was the Holy Roman Empire, and then this was the Dutchelberg of Fuckney, and then this was the 8th Bishclark of Schindlefuck or something. And they were like, ah, yes, I bet they had border checkpoints here. When obviously what was actually happening was you had a bunch of castles with lords in them scattered across Europe. And then around all of those castles and lordships and everything, you had a bunch of like villages like everywhere, and basically all the lords were just competing for which villages they could like take shit from, and that was literally it. Like maybe the borders were kind of like this because this was kind of where they could tax their villages, you know. But then it's like, oh, well, you know, maybe like one of these lords got a lot weaker because they lost a battle, or they gave a portion of their troops over to the king for some grand war, so they were weaker. So it's like, before it was like this, but now we're just going to like get right up against your territory like that. We're going to tax a bunch of people. And all the villagers over here are like, well, are you part of the Holy Roman Empire or the Duchelsti of fucking Scus? And they're like, I don't know, man. Every once in a while, people with slightly different accents arrive at the village to take a bunch of grain. I don't know. Like, you know, twice a year, guys with horses and carts come back. In this environment, do you think, like, immigration law was a thing? This is what the Holy Roman Empire looked at with its various lordship regimes? Yeah, but even then, like, even with all of the little splits and everything, these borders weren't clear at all. People would fight all the time over like the tiny, like, oh, I want this village. Why? And sometimes villages would just get taxed by two lords. Lord A would show up at a village and be like, give me your shit. And then like a month later, Lord B would show up and be like, give me your shit. The villagers are like, we literally have no shit. We are shitless right now. And then the Lord B would just like, I don't know, rape their wives or something, because we're talking about European nobility. Isn't anti-abortion new? Like the founding fathers were fine with abortion? It really, really, really depends. Abortions have been practiced for as long, like basically as long as we have recorded human history. There were points in American history and places in American history where abortion was legally permitted to some extent, but it's never been like a super clean-cut issue. Historically, there have been societies and time periods where abortion was totally permitted. For example, in the Torah, abortion is literally like a mandate of Jewish law, and abortion, a remedy for inducing abortion in pregnant women, is in the Bible, which is kind of like an implicit endorsement, right? Like if the Bible contained a recipe for meth, it'd be like, oh, God wants us to do meth. If the Bible contains a recipe for abortion induction, then okay. Yeah, bitter water. Yeah. The difference is now we can't pass it off as a miscarriage. Well, you still can, but it's not healthy. It never was healthy. Hold on. Always something to learn, right? Brief history of abortion in the U.S. Abortion wasn't always a moral, political, legal tinderbox. Abortion laws have never been more contentious. Until the mid-19th century, the U.S. attitude towards abortion was much the same as it had often been throughout history. It was a quiet reality, legal until quickening, when fetal motion could be felt by the mother. In the eyes of the law, fetus wasn't a separate, distinct entity until then, but rather an extension of the mother. What changed? Huh, interesting. How far in is that? The quickening? Is that like what, 3 months, 4 months? How long in is that? "20-ish weeks? Wow, that's pretty far along. You would have a noticeable belly bump 20 weeks in. Huh. That's half the pregnancy? More than half. Pregnancies are 9 months, more or less. In between 16 and 24 weeks. Okay, so 4 to 6 months. Okay, gotcha. So here's what we're going to do, folks. I need to read donos, and then I need to dip. The reason for this is, of course, because tomorrow is my birthday. I don't know if I'm going to be doing birthday celebrations tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after the day after. Because it's kind of tough to do stuff on Valentine's Day because all the couple shit is booked up. I mean, I don't have a partner, but a lot of shit generally is booked up. So I might actually end up doing a stream tomorrow, in which case it would probably just be a relaxation stream. In the meantime, though, I have donos to read. Hold your horses. You turning 30? 29, actually. Though I've never really felt bad about me aging, you know. I feel like I'm going to age just fine. Charlotte 96, thank you for the $5. The Raven says howdy doody. What? What a handsome boy. Moseying on over. He sounds like he's doing computer UI noises. Man, I've never seen a raven in person. Look at how, like, chunky they are. Crows are way more lean. Look at it. This guy looks like a fucking Pokemon. Crows are 1/4 the size. Yeah, they wide. Zigabiz, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Trippy, thanks for the gifted tier 1 sub. Thank you likewise. Grimace 118 and Zoth. Sake with the 4 gifted tier 1 subs. Genshin Impact is a very pretty game for pedos. True. The pre-stream is garbage. Just run old OK Buddy Vosh VODs during it with a starting soup banner. Never. Zero Hawk Zero, thanks the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. I would liken the conditions in the US to Rwanda in the 90s, where the perpetrators engaged in very obvious prep for genocide, propaganda, legal discrimination, weapon caches, etc. Yeah. Not good. Carlson and Peters, thank you for the $5 and the compliment. No, I have not played Beyond Good and Evil or watched Mission Hill. I have Beyond Good and Evil downloaded, but there's something wrong with it. It's like I got it off GOG. It's the opening cutscene audio is desynced. I need to work on that, then I can do it. Salty Internet Pirate, thanks the tier 1 sub. Guilty, thank you likewise. Kurt Tonymore, thank you for the incredibly kind $50. I really, really appreciate that. That was from the other day. Thank you very much for the kindness. Now let me finish the donos from the other day as well. A Kinky Cadaver, thank you for the 3 $5 donos. I really, really appreciate that. Yes, Alien Isolation had great anti-capitalist themes for sure. Charlotte96, thank you for the 5. Beezy, thank you for the 5. And Diogenes Camus, thank you likewise. Skis13, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that. Sake with the 2 gifted tier 2 subs. Vosh, I love guns. I go to the range all the time. Also, Vosh can't perfect Angel Attack. Yeah, we're working on it. We're making our way through the game. Leafar, Sinuous Psychosis, and Cryomancer Cat, thank you for the $5 all. Really appreciate that. Remember the Lara Croft segment from a year ago where you said, tell me this bitch ain't racist? I absolutely get that vibe from Bayonetta personally. True! Literally. Green Clown Mel, thanks to the tier 1 sub. That is so true. And we know how that worked out. I think I've showed this on stream before, but this is like a character in a manga, and I've never read the manga. But I like the character so much because she reminds me of how I want Lara Croft to be. It still really bothers me that Lara Croft was like an obviously racist girl boss bitch in the original games, and then they made her like a 20-year-old, and she's just like a determined, like regular looking girl. That really bothered me. I don't know. She looks like a fucking sociopath, though, which I respect. Who is this? I forget. Sorry. She's racist? Lara Croft? There is no way you could look at Lara Croft's design and tell me that she's not racist. Have you seen those sunglasses she would wear? I was saying, is this official fan art or is this... Oh, this is from fucking Pinterest. Whatever, it tracks. There's no way somebody who looks like this can be anything other than racist. Don't get me wrong, she has sex with lots of black guys, but she's still racist. A lot of the like modern renders of her original appearance are fan works because again, the old games are so old. This is her from like the actual old games. But like, you know. I actually kind of enjoyed the gameplay of those old games a lot. I feel like people, you know, in a post-Uncharted era, I feel like people have really stopped caring about the sheer joy of very difficult, clunky platforming. Not true, old games are bad. Hot take. Prince of Persia started that trend? No, because Prince of Persia ain't clunky. That's the thing. Sorry. Prince of Persia ain't clunky. That's the critical difference, okay? Back in these games, Lara Croft handled like a cow in a grocery store rolly thing. What are they called? Cart? They had tank controls. Are you okay? No, I'm very tired. Is it just me, or is the concept of Tomb Raider mega racist? It gives me grave robbing is okay if done by white people vibes. Well, that's one of the reasons why I actually liked the original Tomb Raider. In the reboot Tomb Raider games, she's all like, "Oh, we're just a bunch of college students. We're just looking to like do some exploration. We're just like so interested and curious about the world." But the original Tomb Raider was a cunt. She lived in a mansion. She lived in a gigantic mansion, and she just liked treasure. I appreciate that. Just make her an asshole. Like, fine. It was done with a lot of self-awareness, I think. Dementia, I don't mind them adding more stuff. I just want them to, like, add cool stuff. Here, I played Tomb Raider 2. That was my game. Yeah, there's like a big criminal syndicate in Italy, the mob that you fight. Also, the game was kind of scary, if I remember correctly. This was actually a really, really well-constructed level. The whole area is split into two halves that you can only cross after you've gotten to the other half and then unlocked a gate. And the whole point of the level is like running through everything and then getting a second boat, because the area you need to exit out has a bunch of sea mines deployed, and you needed a second boat because the first boat you do that with. You send it off to explode the sea mines, and the second one actually lets you go forward. Tomb Raider 2 had some minor paranormal elements in it. Minor? The final boss of Tomb Raider 2 has you steal a gem-encrusted dagger from the heart of a woman who's actually a T-Rex. You fight a T-Rex, the dagger... Or no, it's a dragon. It breathes fire at you. There's actually a T-Rex in the first level under the Great Wall of China. It is a very eerie game. Does she... Wait, they fight the T-Rex? Yep. This game is probably older than some of the audience. Oh, for sure. Look at this creepy shit. Two T-Rexes? We're gonna be here for a while. Those are infinite ammo pistols. You have to fight the game controls much more than the actual enemies. You can see how she moves by watching, right? You guys see she has she has tank controls, and she has an incredibly slow turning speed. Like, you don't hold the mouse and hold forward to adjust how she moves. You have to hit right and left to slowly turn her as she runs forward. Did I see a slow strafe move too? Yep. But they gave her a lot of extra tools. She has a long jump, a backflip, a quick roll forward that reverses her position, and she has gigantic left and right vaults. See, like, look at the struggling here. Yeah, nowadays you kids just get a parkour button. True. Why is there just a dude? It's Italy. Oh, she lets out a blood-curdling scream if you fall too far, by the way. Very unnerving. God damn, man. No music? No, the game didn't have much music. What appeals to you about this game? The tone. The imprecise controls really made you feel like you had very little control over what was happening. It made you feel slow and clunky, kind of in a way like Silent Hill 2 does, where in that game, you know, you're very weak and you can't defend yourself very well. But in this game, you actually can move very quickly if you want to. It's just very difficult to do. It makes things... You never feel like you have an easy out, basically. And it makes the game pretty unnerving. It also, because the movement is so difficult to get around, it also makes it very rewarding when you actually do it successfully. Why the fuck is this guy using the default pistols when that guy has a shotgun over there? Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the old Resident Evil games as well. Okay, we're finishing this. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, still just regular Italy. Huh. See, you're actually, like, very agile when you need to be. Oh, and here's her mansion, by the way. At the end, the mob raids your house. This is how she unlocks her bedroom door. Oh wait, never mind, it's the armory. This is how she picks up a bunch of gear one by one. The mansion where she lives alone with a butler. Any reason we're looking at Lara Croft? No. Sorry. Jules Bog, thank you for the tier 2 subs. Sake, thank you for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. JK Calinetta, thank you for the tier 4 sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you. RYN Chris, thank you for the $10. Nice! Happy 21st birthday tomorrow, RYN Chris. Got a shared birthday. Soup Shari Suto, thank you for the $3. Hey man, Xander Corvus said an hour ago in his stream, you're a great guy. I feel likewise about him. Dan slaying demons and stroking his massive cock. What a chat. Also Atomic Heart stream? Maybe. I got a lot of stuff I want to do game stream-wise. Wumpy Jumps, I have not seen the Nintendo Direct, but I've heard about the good bits. Jazzy Wubs, thank you so much for the $40. I really appreciate that. You pulled me into anarcho-syndicalism and helped me find a purpose in life. Thank you. Also, the D&D Beyond OGL boycott worked, but it's a tight community. Oh. I'll have to look into it then. Thank you. And I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you. Very kind of you. Cherry Garcia, thank you for the $2. Accosting Vagrant, thank you for the tier 4 sub. I really appreciate that. Sake with the 2 gifted tier 2 subs. Can pregnant people shoot their fetuses over Stand Your Ground now? If they were consistent, the cons, then we would be able to, yes. Big Cheese Wheel with the tier 2 sub. What's the best non-FromSoft Souls-like game? Hollow Knight. Zachary Riley, thank you for the $2. Really appreciate that. Vex the Cat, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that as well. Donald in the $5. Vosh in Baltimore, it's tradition for fans to say "ooh" in the middle of the anthem, and literally no one has a problem with it. I didn't know that. I suppose that would be you know, interesting and entertaining to the you know, the buffoons of Baltimore. Fully get that. Elsa47, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Help my country has been governed by the same guy for the past 13 years, and he just won't fucking leave. Netherlands? Yeah, sorry about that. Take it up with not just bikes. Sake with the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. If we just chalk up systemic oppression to they're white, we're no better than Professor Flowers, bitchless. That's true. Sake with the 2 gifted tier 2 subs as well. Petition to change the national anthem to this. You only have to watch 10 seconds or so. No more bad singing. Uh-oh. Ah, the Star Trek theme. It actually does remind me a lot of music that I would hear in Star Trek. I have another suggestion. New theme song.
Okay. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you wanna clap. As we taste your crew, this monkey rap.
Excellent. Flawless. Kare117, $5. Hey Vosh, I'm a musician that professionally sings in choruses, and Lift Every Voice is universally known as a bop in the choral world. Find a choral version. Maybe I will. Also, with the additional $5, it's widely known as the Black National Anthem. It's not just cons saying it, they're just angry about it. Gotcha. Not necessarily my type of music, but I can appreciate why other people might like it. I'll listen for it. And Zosi with the $5. Boo! Did I scare you? You did, actually, Zosi. I nearly died of fright, and I don't appreciate that at all. All right, guys, I love you all very much. I feel like I'm so close to getting a good sleep. It has to happen eventually, statistically. Oh, hold on. I made the mistake of looking at my Reddit. The whole goal here was to make them stop complaining. The recent debates have all been shit with the exception of the Hogwarts Legacy one. That's because it was really more of an amateur therapy session than a debate. Vosh debates all pretty much go the exact same way. The person Vosh is debating asks for specific examples he could easily pull out if he just did like 2 seconds of research beforehand, but he has a shitty memory, so he can't. So Vosh falls back on rhetorical and semantic arguments. The rest of the debate's just an annoying mess where his big win is revealing his opponent never really thought about his moral system much, like most people haven't. Oh, man. Do I want to get into this? I feel like defending myself against the stupid shit the subreddit says only makes me look more guilty. In their eyes. I guess this is just about the Jordan Peterson one. So the issue with the Jordan Peterson one is the only thing that I knew about the debate going in was would Jordan Peterson be good or like is Jordan Peterson good or bad? That's the only thing I knew. It wasn't a specific topic. And then I'm actually talking with the guy, and immediately he's like, "Oh yeah, Jordan Peterson says bad stuff on Twitter. I think that's dumb. I disagree with the trans stuff. I just want to talk about like his ability to give good advice to young people." And then that ended up not even being the thing. And then it ended up being broadly about like the extent to which Jordan Peterson is like religious but not in a religious way. The issue is a lot of people think that like, okay, I'll put it this way. The debate that I had with that guy would not have gone any better if I had just memorized a bunch of incidents of Jordan Peterson saying something bad and then recited them. I don't know how these people think debates go. You have to tone match for one. And that Paul guy was like way too nice and sincere for just like a litany of points. Then he like we brought up specifically like the trans like the rate of satisfaction after trans affirming surgery, and he didn't want to get into the specifics there. The problem is I think that a lot of people when they see my debates, they want like every debate to me have like 47 epic points that I just like recite one after another to win. But in that conversation, I feel like I had a response to every single thing that was said. The issue is like, what do you think is going to happen if I'm like, okay, well, here's evidence of Jordan Peterson doing this thing. And he's like, okay, well, I didn't want to talk about that. And then I'm like, oh, well, here's evidence of Jordan Peterson doing this thing. And he's like, okay, well, what about this? Like, it doesn't work that way. Paul's defense was also extremely weak. Yeah, you can't really force a specific debate on a person who wants to have a non-specific debate, if that makes any sense. At least if they keep pushing the non-specificity, eventually it makes you look like you're just trying to like needle them when they're trying to have a friendly convo. It's because Destiny's constantly on about how you don't do prep for debate or discussion. That's his main thing. Wait, so his complaint is that I don't do any prep beforehand, but he still embarrassed himself when he talks about it? Is that it? That's such a weird, if you hated me, which he does, why would you complain about a procedural thing? That's very strange. Doesn't that come across like kind of weird? I don't have anything against like complaining about people. It's been known to happen, but it's like, yeah, it just comes across like whiny. Like, what are we gonna, look to complain about today? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, debates are complicated. Wow, this person uses Reddit quite a lot. I guess that's another reason to discount what they have to say. Are you admittedly beset by tiredness? All the time. My goodness. Early stream tomorrow as well, please. Tomorrow's my birthday. Have a heart. Sorry, I'm looking at the idiots complaining about this. He literally offered to get the studies and debate. The other I just got scared and said they could look at a different time. If you're referring to the JP debate, Vaush could have just watched Cody Johnson's video on the topic. He would have got more material supporting the angle of JP being a fascist sympathizer. I guess, what would have been the point of having like 18 specific examples of Jordan Peterson having politically bad views if he couldn't handle the first two that got brought up? Like the treatment of trans people as degenerates and of social transition, or of transitioning as degeneracy, and like the stuff in Florida. If like the first two he had no response for, what would the purpose have been of the next like 20? What would that have done? Yeah, I don't know. Adding on to it for the audience, I guess. Yeah, but you can't do that when you're talking to somebody else, right? Like, imagine if like you lay out one thing and it doesn't really have a response to it. You say, okay, here's another topic you don't have really response, and it's like, okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Eventually, I feel like it's actually rhetorically ineffective because it makes you look like the worst iteration of a debate bro, the kind of person who memorizes a script beforehand and just kind of like doesn't respect the tone of the discussion or the flow or the pace of everything, and it's just like they treat every debate on a subject as a soapbox to stand there and recite every talking point they have about it. I consider that like the lowest bar of debate personally, but I don't know. People on the subreddit are always going to complain, but I'm trying to take a bit more of a positive attitude towards that, and reflect on their criticisms, not as like specific criticisms, because they don't know how to do the YouTube debate bro stuff better than me. Obviously, there are only so many people who do it, but their criticisms do refer to like feelings they have, and those feelings maybe are something that could be addressed. You know what I mean? It would be like if you're a driver and there's a kid in the back seat, like a 5-year-old, and the 5-year-old's like, hey, you need to not drive as hard. And you're in your head, you're like, drive as hard, you fucking fool, you fucking imbecile, drive as hard, I'm following the speed. But like, if you're a little like charitable, you can be like, okay, what they actually mean is that I took too hard of a right turn, or like I leaned into that turn too much. You're like, okay, the criticism was wrong, but it speaks to an underlying feeling that I still can address. You know what I mean? Just trying to be more positive about it. Okay. Sorry, I'm dragging it on a little bit because I kind of didn't want to end stream, but I do have to go. I love you all very much. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you the day after. Please take care of yourselves and have a good day. Here. Who do we want to... Sorry. You know what? I'm going to raid Knowing Better YouTube, also known as Knowing Better. We all love a good Knowing Better video, don't we? Those videos on the history of slavery and of Native Americans were absolute bangers. Knowing Better YouTube. Knowing Better YouTube. It's been a while. I don't think he's on the pre-host list. Knowing Better YouTube. No, he's not. Let's fix that. Host Twitch. Knowing better YouTube. I'll see you guys soon.